Hello, welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Joel Moran, and I'm here with Andrew Velez, Joe Dehls. This is episode 265. In this episode, we're going to rank our top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL draft, talk about the Cowboys trading for Brandin Cooks, Bills signing Damien Harris, worst to first candidates, redraft the 2018 NFL draft, and more. As you guys can see right now, Riv is not here.
No, Mr. Brown.
Video foreign.
But football episode. Let's get it, boys.
Sure.
Shout out to everybody watching live. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right. I've been doing all right. I've been a little bit of a funk recently.
You know why?
Let's talk.
Because you didn't come out with us this weekend.
Maybe that played a part. Maybe I should have popped out with you guys, no doubt about it. But I was a busy guy. I was trying to lock in, study for this test that, to be honest with you, I don't want to study for. It's killing me, to be honest with you. I want to lock my time in on one thing.
When are you taking again?
Late April.
Okay.
Late April. But
one Saturday night you couldn't take off?
No, you're right. But I also was hanging out with Al.
Yeah. She could have came too.
Yeah, but she didn't want to go also. It was whack. It was whack.
I feel you. I'm sure you didn't push it either.
No way. If she wasn't going, there was no way I was going.
I understand.
Hitting Hoboken without your girl is not it.
It's not.
It's not. It's really not.
Yeah, it's not a vibe. I was there in the corner just standing.
That's what I'm saying.
Joel was eager. He didn't even want to pop out. I made him pop out.
Facts. I mean, we're on the phone. I thought you weren't going.
Yeah.
So now I was like, okay, all right. I don't feel as bad not going. And then I seen everyone popped out, and then we were talking on the last podcast.
Yeah.
Riv got extreme.
Oh my god!
Was that on the playback? We were talking on the playback.
Facts. Yeah.
Riv got.
Riv can't drink because he just gets drunk. Like absolutely.
There's no 50%. There's
whacked.
no 75%. He only goes 100% every single time. I respect him for it.
We had a crew out there though. There was like 30 people there.
Heads.
That I knew, bro.
I was jealous.
Yeah.
I was jealous.
Some of the Seton Hall heads were there too. They pulled up.
I should have popped out.
Yeah.
Let me not say jealous. I definitely had FOMO though.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Sure. That was one of the more fun nights I had in Hoboken in a while. Because there were so many people.
You actually were getting lit for once?
I'm always getting lit. But Chelsea wasn't there, so it was like, Chelsea. She was in
Ohio.
Yeah.
Nice.
But same way. I was like, my girl's not here. Might as well get drunk.
I know what you mean.
Hang with the boys. Hang with the bros. How about you, bro? How you been?
I've been good. Song stuck in my head. Okay. Ooh, baby. I got bands like you, baby. Like,
this guy's trying to become
Buku,
a TikTok
baby.
dancer.
You should put it on the Pick a Side TikTok, bro.
Nah, bro, you should be on your own TikTok account doing TikTok dances. I would 100%.
I'd piss myself.
I would pay. I would pay to watch those TikToks.
Buku, baby. Nah,
is there a TikTok dance?
Nah, the TikTok dance is like this. Baby, I got bands like you, baby. That shit crazy.
I'm laughing thinking about this fucking idiot.
You could definitely do it.
We're gonna get copyrighted. We should create a brand new TikTok.
No, you don't get copyrighted on TikTok.
No, I'm saying I thought he was about to play the song.
Oh yeah, we definitely would.
Nah, I don't think we could copyright it. Do you think so?
Probably.
SoundCloud track?
Yeah, this is a dance.
Oh, okay.
People just getting light to it. You know what I'm saying?
Song is tough.
That song is tough. I don't want to play it for copyright purposes. Yeah. But yeah, it is. This is the artist.
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me just type in Buku because that's the song.
I was telling them before the show, Michael Rainey produced that song. He plays Tariq on Power. New season of Power just drops.
Oh, I've been lacking, man.
Yeah, I haven't watched. Did you watch season 2?
I didn't watch season 2.
Oh, cold.
Jared told me that it's getting corny.
I like season 2. It was solid. I haven't watched the first episode of season 3 yet.
I folded. When I went to vacation, we stopped watching Raising Kanan. That hurt, honestly.
Yeah, I never started.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. I blame myself. It's my fault. And then I did not watch season 2 of Ghost. I did not watch Tommy. I did not watch BMF. I've heard BMF is amazing.
I watched the first season.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the second one.
People say that the song is mad zesty, and it's a cutie patootie ass song.
That's why you love it. Is that gonna be the next viral TikTok song?
No, it is already going viral. Yeah,
I'm just lacking. Not
with all these kids. Nah. They was like, this is Pink Panthers for the fellas.
That reminds me of the playback when I was trying to get Dylan to sing a song.
He wasn't having that.
He is so soft for that.
What
I'm
song?
like, yo, Dylan, any song. I just said, bro, get lit for the playback because the playback was like towards the end. Obviously, it was late at night. I was like, yo, Dylan, just liven it up. I'll Venmo you $20 right now if you just sing a song. I said, if you sing "Baby" right now by Justin Bieber, I'll Venmo you $20. I had everyone in the playback. Yo, Santos was there. I think Musty was in there. They were like, yo, I'm matched to 20. I'm matched to 20. He started getting all gunshot. He ended up leaving the playback.
Oh, my God. Come on,
I lost
Dylan Rad?
Exactly. I lost a lot of respect for it.
Wasn't rad of him.
No.
Not one bit.
Nah, that was me on my most crackhead moment, though. I was singing in that live. I was the one.
Oh, he's in here.
Yeah, is he? What's he saying? What's
he
he
said
saying?
I wasn't going to sing Justin Bieber.
He's soft. I even sang Justin Bieber. I was shameless. I was on that mic. I was having the time of my life.
Now
And then
listen,
Alexandra popped into the live, too, and she was just like, I can't believe you were going to get paid. I was like, bro, come on.
we are going to be reading these super chats. NPC Santos sent 2 already.
What a go.
I got 5 for today, LOL. The chat wants to hear the debate. Start the live.
Oh, that's when
Santos,
we
we here.
The live is
When he said that, like 40 minutes ago.
Deco, $4.99. Start the live hashtag. So they gave us $10 to start the live. Now we are 5 minutes in. If you haven't, make sure you like this stream up because the likes on our videos have been low. And the only way Pick a Side podcast full episodes get noticed on the YouTube algorithm is if you guys like the video. So make sure you guys like the video and subscribe as well if you aren't subscribed. I'm assuming if you're on the live right now, you are subscribed, but if you aren't, make sure you do subscribe.
It's funny. The views, they've been there. The likes, they haven't. So unless they're watching, it's
and the
like,
subscriptions too.
we don't fuck with y'all. We're not watching. We're not. I'm watching, but
Not
I don't
liking.
like it.
I told you I'll be the same way though. It's
I
an
told
issue.
you I had to change a heart.
Yeah.
I said I
Maybe
realized how
we'll need to
important
lock
they
in.
are. Facts. Now you got to start.
Now today, I'm looking at Boom Fantasy. We are now we have the same amount of games.
Did Keegan hit
He
yesterday?
did hit.
He did.
So
He had
I'm
15.
18-14. Drew's 15-17. Riv is 14-18.
I started
So-
taking overs again. I haven't been consistent at all.
And
Drew's
also,
pick-
sorry to cut you off. There's only 4 or 3 minutes left, but we do have a Jokic risk-free today. So if you have Jokic in your entry and he loses, you get your money back. But the game starts at 7:07, so you only have 3 minutes.
Sprint.
Run to Boom Fantasy and get an entry.
Use
of
code
Jokic.
PAS. Now, Drew, your Boom Fantasy pick for today.
Jalen Green under 30.5. Jalen Green just has been the epitome of inconsistent.
Who are they playing tonight?
They're playing the Grizzlies, and John Morant's
Ja's
back.
coming off the
It's
bench.
just a little bit more energy. Dylan Brooks will not be playing, so of course they do lose that defense, but regardless, Memphis is still one of the best defensive teams in the league. Jalen Green, with how inconsistent he's been, with Jabari kind of get going a little bit. Of course, I think Sengun's still the initiator of the offense. I don't know, 30.5 seems like a bit much, especially against a really good defensive team.
My pick is Jalen Brunson over 23.5 points. I like this line a lot, man.
I
It
do
wasn't
too.
too long ago when Jalen Brunson's
Playing
line was
Miami,
at
right?
yeah. When Brunson's line was at 27, sometimes 28. Getting it for 23.5, 24 points. I think Jalen Brunson should get that. And if you guys want to play Boom Fantasy, you can use code PAS. Link is in our description down below. Now let's get this episode started. One more super chat and then we get it started.
Here we go.
NPC Santos, Joel, I got you next paycheck for your jersey. DM the player and the jersey you want. Also, the Lakers are the 11th seed. Santos, this is what I want. I want the De'Aaron Fox Kings jersey in the gray.
Okay.
In the gray. I like
That's
the
tough.
gray. I like the gray a lot.
Yeah, your Kings. What happened last night? Got smoked by the Celtics. I thought the sky is falling. Sixers are going to beat us. What happened?
Refs missed a lot of calls.
Oh, and that's why they lost by 30.
Less than that. Yeah, 23.
Essentially.
23.
That was
My bad,
essentially.
my bad. Starters got pulled like halfway through the fourth.
Well, they're not Philly.
Okay. They can just go on the, just go to
Philly that
WCF.
lost to Chicago?
Ew,
Chicago got a great
What happened to
defense.
James Harden? That's
He
really
did-
what I
he
want
He
to
did.
played
talk
well,
about.
and it was still a close game.
He disappeared.
Well,
Yeah,
Embiid
they're
was
playing the Bulls,
unbelievable.
so-
And they went to double OT.
Yeah.
The Bulls have the
amazing
best
game.
defense.
They do.
I know.
They do.
But,
Well, they're top 5, but in the last like 15 games, they're
They're
number one.
number one,
defense.
yeah. But they're the Bulls still.
Shout out to Ray B,
Respect
best
them.
podcast
Can't
on
score.
YouTube. But the Mavs disrespect needs to cease.
I've had enough. Not good.
They're mid.
They beat us on some bullshit.
And
I-
Luka gets back. Now Kyrie's hurt again. It's always
Yeah,
something.
I was about to
Yeah.
say, yeah, Kyrie's not playing tonight.
Also, before we start the first segment, we will be live on playback tomorrow. The game I picked out was Gonzaga versus UCLA.
Okay.
If you guys want to watch the tournament, March Madness.
Another thing we started doing was just going through whatever game is at its most exciting. So it's
Yeah, the
not,
playback we did the other night
yeah,
was lit.
No,
That was
for
fun.
sure. It's why not just pick the game that is going to be the most exciting, and we can constantly flip through it. That's the luxury of playback. We spoke about it a little bit earlier, and think about the moments that we have, that we even talk about them on our actual podcast. So if you are listening now, do yourself a favor, go ahead and make a playback account. That's the best way to chat with us, the best way to get onto the stage and actually have conversation with us. A big reason why I started following a lot of people on Twitter was because we're having some really good debates in the playback. So go do yourself a favor, create that playback account. So when we go live tomorrow, you can join in.
Now, first topic: top five quarterback rankings.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get some sun, brother.
In the NFL draft.
Are you a sunscreen user also?
I think I'm stronger than the fucking sun. What are we talking about here, bro? It burns so easy.
Sorry.
I was sitting out in the sun yesterday. It was 60 degrees. I was like, if I'm out here any longer, I might get burned. I don't know, bro. It was the first nice day in Jersey. It was like shit. Getting dangerous.
Yo, I burned myself out in Florida, bro. My right shoulder was like peeling. It was so bad.
I don't know if you guys saw, but Chris Simmons dropped his quarterback.
Yeah, I saw that.
I ignored it.
You ignored it.
I ignored it.
CJ Stroud was one.
No, I'm fine with that.
He's a big Stroud guy now.
I am. I'm reborn.
Yeah, Stroud is really good.
He's fire. I really was having a tough time, 1 or 2.
So what was your problems with his list? Because it was
Hendon Hooker 3 is crazy.
You're a big Hooker guy.
He wasn't 3.
He was 3.
He was tied for 3rd. Him and Richardson were both in tier 3.
Richardson was 3rd, I believe, though.
Nah, he actually had Hooker first, then Richardson, but both in the same tier.
Hendon Hooker's really good, man.
I'm not saying that Hendon Hooker isn't good. I think that with the way that quarterbacks are looked out for this year specifically, there's a chance that Hendon Hooker might be a first-round pick. Honestly, that's just how...
I think in Daniel Jeremiah's latest mock, he had him going to the Vikings, maybe.
That's just how necessary people need quarterbacks right now this offseason. And with 4 probably going in the top 10, it would not shock me, not even a little, that Hendon became a first-round quarterback.
Yeah, you're right. Hendon Hooker was above him.
I know. That's listen, I like Hendon Hooker as much as the next guy. Maybe not as much as Chris Sims, clearly, but the top 3 is crazy. That's just
yeah, he had Hooker going 23 overall. And the thing about Jeremiah is this isn't even like who he likes the most. This is what he hears around the league. So if he has Hooker going in the first round, there's decent chance there's buzz going around. He also had Bryce going 1, which is interesting.
I don't just the way that the chatter's going on. Did you hear recently that the Panthers might make a shocking selection?
The NFL doesn't want people to know who the number 1 pick is. They're just putting shit out there.
I guess you're right. You're not wrong about that. Usually we know who the number 1 overall pick is. And now I know that obviously it's our job to live tweet who's getting drafted. But my most enjoyable part of watching the draft is being shocked when they actually announce it, as opposed to Adam Schefter tweeting minutes before.
I thought they stopped it.
No, they didn't.
They stopped doing that.
They didn't. And it's the same shit with the NBA.
The NBA facts. The NBA, I know for
sure.
What
was just horrendous. And I remember
they do like
we were at Sharky's
X team is
watching the
targeting,
draft, and I was like, bro, stop looking at it. He's like, I gotta look, bro. I have to tweet about it.
Usman Dieng.
I get facts. That's what it was. It was Dieng. And I was like, bro, why are you doing this?
Yeah, I turned the notifications off.
So top 5 quarterback draft rankings.
Sorry, I'm talking a lot. I apologize.
Number 1. I have CJ Stroud.
We're going 1 to 5.
This guy just doesn't get it. He doesn't get it.
You guys are gross.
You guys.
Sorry, him. Joel B. Moran.
Listen, man. It's not. Doesn't matter either way.
I get it. No, I understand having CJ 1.
I have CJ 1. I think that I love his size, and
I bet you do.
Wow.
He has the lowest sack rate of any quarterback in the draft. His sack rate's 2.9%. Richardson's 4%. Bryce is 4.5%. Hooker is 6.5%, and Levis is 11.5%, which is horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
CJ Stroud, to me, I think personally has the best pocket movement in this draft. I think he has a stronger arm than everybody not named Richardson. But in terms of his arm talent, he has the best arm talent in terms of how he's already good at using his talent.
Okay.
Like Richardson has a phenomenal arm, but he has not put it all together yet. And granted, he's only started 1 year. But CJ Stroud can make those high-level throws. He can make off-platform throws, and he's not skittish and that's something I love. And he also has athletic ability, and I think that's something that's going to translate well. People have compared him to a Jared Goff, but Jared Goff can't move. CJ Stroud can move, and he can create out of structure. So I think if you're giving me Jared Goff, the pocket quarterback, the pocket passer with athleticism, I mean that's a pretty damn good quarterback. I mean Jared Goff's had some great seasons. Number 2 for me is Anthony Richardson. I think Bryce Young is a better quarterback.
Your heightest.
I think Bryce Young is a better quarterback, but I like Richardson's upside more. So if I were drafting a quarterback in the draft and I was picking between Young and Richardson, for me, I'd always go with the plan of I'd have a veteran start the year first. Based on that plan, I'd take Richardson ahead of Bryce Young because I think his upside is much more higher, and I don't think his rawness is quite as unfixable as people try to make it out to be. I think that the accuracy issues are good. He has good pocket presence. He can read the field. So Anthony Richardson, I'm higher on than most, and I'm going to trust the athletic ability and the tools. Number 3 for me is Bryce Young. Bryce Young is an amazing quarterback. He is. He's an amazing quarterback.
You're making me feel like you don't believe that.
I think he is. I'm just worried about the frame. I am.
So are there 3 franchise quarterbacks in this draft, in your opinion? You're calling him amazing.
I personally, right now, I'd only really go with Stroud.
Interesting.
Bryce Young, to me, the frame getting hit at the next level is something that genuinely concerns me. It does.
Okay. All right. Keep going before I give any comments.
But I think Bryce Young is a phenomenal quarterback, and I think it's fair to note that he didn't have the luxury that Tua had in Alabama or that Mac Jones had at Alabama. He did not play with much talent.
Mediocre Bama team.
He did not play with much talent at Alabama. So I will give him the benefit of the doubt there. Number 4 for me is Hendon Hooker. I think Hooker is really good. I know people are going to knock his age, and I'm not calling Hendon Hooker a franchise quarterback, but I think he's a solid starter. I think if you're the Minnesota Vikings and you have a first-round pick and you're thinking about moving off of Kirk Cousins in a year, I think Hendon Hooker could be that replacement for a Vikings team that needs a younger quarterback on a rookie contract. I think Hendon Hooker is really good. And what I love most about him is his story, his resilience. That has really gravitated me towards him as a prospect. The only negatives I see in Hooker are in the games that I've watched, his accuracy is very sporadic. Tennessee runs a spread system. It's not much reading. And that is the biggest worry when it comes to Hendon Hooker, is at the next level when he's in a more complicated system, how is he going to handle that? And I don't think he handles pressure the best. He had a 6.5% sack rate, which was the second highest of any of these guys. And on the tape, it showed. There's times where he is navigating the pocket and he runs into pressure. He's navigating into pressure. And that, to me, is something that I'm a bit concerned about. But I think he has plus arm talent and he's athletic. So maybe that can make up for some of the other limitations. I look at him as a solid starter. And then 5, I have Will Levis. I think that the athletic tools are there, but I just don't trust him as a prospect. I think he's gotten worse. And from the interviews that I've seen of him, he doesn't rub me as a guy that really wants to get better. I hate to really knock him as a prospect in that way, but you look at what he said in the combine about how he can't wait to show off his rocket arm. I think that he is kind of like borderline. You have to be confident in your abilities.
Overconfident in your opinion?
He's to me a little bit cocky in where he may not think he needs to work on certain things he needs to work on. And in the combine, I didn't think he had a good combine.
Mm-hmm.
I thought his ball placement throughout the combine was very erratic. It was not good. And the fact that he took a huge dip in his production in his past season is worrying. And you look on his tape, like it's kind of like the Malik Willis thing. Malik Willis had talent, but when you watch Malik Willis's tape, out of every 6 plays, 1 play would be good. And you're like, wow, like, see, if he could just do that the other 5 times, he'd be a good quarterback. With Will Levis, it's not as many mistakes as Malik Willis. I think he's a much more NFL-ready quarterback than Malik Willis was coming out. But Will Levis has a lot of erratic play and a lot of things that needs to be fixed. And I don't know if I take him in the first round. Like, to me, I know that teams are going to overdraft quarterbacks. I think there are 3 first-round quarterbacks. It's Bryce Young, CJ, and Anthony Richardson. I think Hendon Hooker is an early second-round pick, but he might even get selected in the first round. I think Will Levis is a mid-second rounder, late second rounder. That's the grade I'd have on him. I'm not a believer in Will Levis in the first round.
Go ahead, Julie.
I have the same 5, different order, but I do have the same 5. Should I start at 5 or 1? What do you think?
I mean, at this point, we got to go 1 to 5.
Okay. At 1, I do have Bryce Young. I understand the concerns with the size and the frame. But listen, he did at Alabama, and I thought throwing over the field, which is the biggest concern for a quarterback of his stature, I thought he did pretty well. And I understand that in the NFL, everyone's bigger, everyone's faster, so it doesn't exactly translate 1-to-1. But I think he's really not going to have that much of a hard time. Jesus. That was probably terrible. He's probably not going to have that much of a hard time translating, his smaller frame and maybe not obviously the biggest quarterback we have seen, but I don't want to compare him to Kyler Murray because they're not the same type of guy, right? Kyler Murray is more athletic. I think he has a bigger arm, but I do think you could see, okay, Bryce Young and Kyler Murray, both smaller quarterbacks and both have had success in the college level. It translates for Kyler for the most part. And I do think it translates for Bryce Young. I do think Stroud and Bryce Young are in a bit of a tier of their own compared to the rest of the guys. And not that the other guys can't be as good as them. Mostly talking about Anthony Richardson. But I think Bryce and Stroud, who's my number 2 quarterback, who I'll get into, I have no problems. Week 1, they could start, and you won't see a single complaint about me. I think Stroud and Bryce Young are both going to be able to go pick up a playbook. They've played in pro-style offenses. They understand it. Played against top-level competition, has thrived against top-level competition, and has been consistent for multiple years. So I don't have much of an issue with either of those guys, how you have them 1 or 2 or even 3. I know with Bryce Young, I'm a big Anthony Richardson fan as well. But talk about CJ Stroud a bit. I know people's biggest knock on him has been a couple of things. One has been the team at Ohio State. You mentioned the low sack rate. He has had multiple guys that are going to be in the NFL in this year and last year's class and future class on the offensive line, multiple first-round draft picks. So by far, he has had the most help than any of these quarterbacks we're going to be talking about. So you have to take that into account. And the other one is mobility, right? When we talk about guys like Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson, even Levis to an extent, you see their mobility jump off the screen more. And it's not that Stroud can't do it. He can. He just didn't show it as much as you probably would like, especially when you talk about translating to the next level where most of the time, especially if he goes to the Panthers, he's going to be playing a team that is going to have a lot more talent on the defensive side than maybe the Panthers are going to, even though their offensive line has been improving. He's not going to have the luxury to sit in the pocket for 3-4 seconds like he did at Ohio State. And he's not going to have the luxury of having JSN and Marvin Harrison Jr. and all of these guys who are going to be first-round picks. He's going to have Adam Thielen and Terrace Marshall, right? Some guys that aren't top-of-the-line NFL players like the advantage he has in college. So there's definitely some questions around CJ Stroud's being able to translate. But I think in terms of his knowledge of the game and his accuracy and his ball placement, there's just so much there that makes it almost impossible for me to think that he's going to be an outright bust. I find it hard to believe. I also don't think Bryce or CJ Stroud are going to be top 5 guys. And that's why I don't have any pushback having Richard number 2. I have Richardson 3 overall because I understand for multiple years, all the talk has been Bryce Young and CJ Stroud leading up to this draft. But as you get closer and closer to the draft, people nitpick. And I think it's fair to have some, discrepancies in their game with Bryce Young's size and CJ Stroud's athletic ability. But I think it's also fair to say if Bryce Young hits, say he is Kyler Murray. At Kyler's best, he was probably the 8th or 9th best quarterback in the league.
MVP candidate at one point.
For half a season.
Yeah.
And then for a guy like CJ Stroud, maybe you think his upside is a guy like Dak Prescott, right? Who has some mobility. He could throw with accuracy. He's a good leader. But again, Dak's always been in that 9 to 13 range. And neither of those guys really feel like to be top 5. Richardson, on the other hand, he has everything. He doesn't have the accuracy. He doesn't have the consistency of these other guys. But in terms of what it takes to be a top-of-the-line, top 5 quarterback in the league, he has it all. He has the ridiculous arm. He has the athleticism. He has the ability to run through people, run around them, make every throw on the football field. And I've said this in previous podcasts. I do think he's further along developed as a quarterback than people give him credit for. The accuracy is the number one issue. And I think more than anything, it's just reps. I think he just hasn't played enough. His lower body, his footwork is very inconsistent play to play. But I see multiple times, when he's reading defenses, he goes through 1, 2, 3, 4 back to when he's able to make, progressions on the field. So I do think he's getting a little bit discredited for that. But also the NFL seems to be picking up on that because you are getting steam of him going top 5 in the draft. Number 4, these last 2, Levis and 5 is going to be Hooker. These 2 I see more faults in their game than the top 3 guys. Levis for his 2022, it wasn't entirely his fault. When he was at Kentucky, he battled multiple injuries. He had a turf toe, a shoulder injury last season. He lost Wan'Dale Robinson to the draft. He had a new offensive coordinator last year who was fired halfway through the season. So there was a lot of things that were going on last year that counted into the fact that he pulled it down a bit, or his play got pushed down a bit. But his arm strength is there. It jumps off the screen when you watch him. But I understand the hesitancy to have him so high in the draft, especially when you have a guy like Zach Wilson, who just went a couple of drafts ago where it's arm talent. And even though he had some down years, mostly his sophomore season, it was kind of the opposite where Levis had a strong junior and bad senior. Zach was a weak sophomore, strong junior. I still think there's going to be some of that resonates in people's brains. Then lastly is Hooker. I do agree with you guys. I think he could sneak into that back of the first round. The age concern, I think, is valid, being 25 years old, coming off for torn ACL. It does sound like he'll be ready for week 1. He has the size, 6'3", 220. He has the arm strength, the talent to be able to do it. I just think, as you mentioned, Joel, the system he was in Tennessee, it was vertical, it was spread, heavily relying on goal routes where he was just throwing it up. And listen, he was putting in the spots where he needed to be. But I do worry a little bit about him going to the next level. Doesn't sound like he'll have to play week 1, but how is he going to translate? How is he going to bring on an NFL playbook? And it only takes one team to really take that shot at him. So if he gets drafted in the first round, he's going to have, all of that franchise behind him to be that guy. They're going to invest time and resources into him. So I would have faith. Like you said, his story is great. I had to transfer to Tennessee, ended up being a likely first or second round pick. But that's my 5.
Great list so far, boys. Pretty similar list to you, Joel, and by pretty similar, it's absolutely spot on. My number 1 quarterback is Bryce Young. Now, I'm not going to sit here and overthink this. All season long, all we've seen was Bryce Young projected to be the number 1 quarterback off the board, and as we got closer to the combine, and then we saw the combine and the results that occurred, Stroud was amazing, absolutely no doubt about it, and AR-15 was amazing in his own right, absolutely. But what Bryce Young had showed me in 2021, when he actually had the stars on his team, he showed me that he was the true Heisman that he was. And then this past season where he didn't have the weapons, we saw significant less attempts. Yes, his at face value statistics did take a hit, but it's because they were running a different offense because they simply did not have that same talent. But even still, you look at his escapability, you look at his ability to put the ball in spots that he wants to, exactly where he wants to. Bryce Young, to me, is the best quarterback because he has the best arm, in my opinion. He has the best escapability, and he already showed you that he could win ball games with not that great amount of talent around him. So the way that it's seeming as if Bryce will not be the first quarterback selected. It's seeming as if he's going to go to the Houston Texans, and we have a segment about the Houston Texans, so I'm going to wait to give my spiel about what's the potential of that squad. But right now, if I'm Bryce Young, I'm not mad. I'm not going number 1 because I think the better situation is number 2. And as for number 2, my number 2 quarterback is CJ Stroud. And I've been very critical of CJ Stroud in the past because when I was doing our scouting of our wide receivers last year with Garrett Wilson and Olave, obviously Stroud was throwing the football, and I did not like what I saw. I felt like he was letting balls go a little bit too high. He was escaping the pocket a little bit too soon. But this season, he made me eat my words. He was phenomenal. And the game that 100% changed my view on Stroud was that semifinal game against Georgia, where he absolutely put on a light show, went tit for tat with one of the best defenses in the nation. Not one of, it was the best defense in the nation. And he showed me that, 1, he could carry a team. He can hit throws even when his number 1 receiver was out. He was still was driving the ball down the field. He was making plays happen with his legs. He showed athleticism in this one game. Everything you could have wanted in a quarterback, CJ Stroud showed you that day. Now, I've been on air saying that as of recent, I feel like the most NFL-ready quarterback is CJ Stroud for the fact that, and the safest quarterback is CJ Stroud because, as Joel mentioned, he has better size than Bryce Young. He seemingly is just the more traditional quarterback, is a little bit more of a pocket passer, a little bit more accurate. But I see the ceiling of Bryce Young. I see what he's able to accomplish with less than CJ Stroud. And that's why I lean Bryce Young in this situation. Now, I'm still high on Anthony Richardson, but I feel like these two are the guys alone where Anthony Richardson's all potential. And I tweeted this a couple of weeks ago. I think the guy with the highest ceiling is Anthony Richardson. But from the tape that we saw this past season in Florida, the accuracy still needs some work. The reason why he is being as highly touted as he is because he is one of the best athletes we've ever seen at the quarterback position.
The best.
And absolutely. Yeah. Probably. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I just want to pay that respect to Lamar Jackson, to Cam, of course.
That's at his size.
No doubt about it. And Justin Fields also needs that acknowledgement. But really, he is an athletic freak. And that is a large difference from number 3 to number 4, where Will Levis simply lacks that athleticism. Similar issues in their game. They're not athletic. Excuse me. They're not accurate, but they have amazing arms. The difference is AR is an amazing athlete, and there's a huge gap in from 3 to 4 because of that athleticism. And we see in the NFL that athletes can play the quarterback position. And although it may take time to develop their arm, if they work hard enough, which is what we've seen consistently so far, and you have Josh Allen, who we have to put in this category as well. Of course, he's not the athlete that AR is, but nevertheless, Josh Allen's earned that respect of developing into an amazing quarterback. And I mentioned Josh Allen because I feel like scouting has been ruined because of Josh Allen. Because Josh Allen had this amazing arm and this unbelievable arm talent, and everyone's searching for the next Josh Allen. But Josh Allen, I feel like we're going to come to realize, is an anomaly. He was mediocre at best his first 2 seasons. Yes, he did make the playoffs, but he did lose in round 1. And then round 3, he has this MVP leap. But when have we seen that type of ascension in recent time? We haven't. But all we do now in NFL draft season is who has the best arm, who's the best athlete. And 9 out of 10 times, these guys are the ones being drafted high. So this is why I'm cautiously optimistic about Anthony Richardson, because I see the tools. I see the potential. If he can reach his ceiling, there's a chance. I'm fine with it. He could be the best quarterback in this league, but it's not safe to me. So that's why I have him number 3. And as I mentioned, I have Will Levis 4 for similar reasons. He's simply not nearly the athlete that Anthony Richardson is. And I just think that passing the football, I would rather AR. And number 5, Hendon Hooker. Hendon's tape was difficult, of course. He had the torn ACL. There's a reason why that I'm not higher on him is because of that injury history. That is always a concern, but with modern medicine, things can go his way, and Hendon, of course, can get back to being a solid quarterback. He has the athleticism. He has solid arm accuracy, arm talent. It's just simply not on the level of these guys. It's very close between Will Levis and Hendon Hooker. As we get closer to the draft, I feel further and further away from Will Levis. His combine performance was poor. I will say on the opposite side, though, I appreciated his demeanor at the podium. I like a person who is confident in themselves, even if they showed that they were not maybe the best. You never are down on your abilities, especially when people are nitpicking every little thing. When you speak, you open your mouth, you're leaving yourself open to interpretation. And I feel as if he came across in a positive way in my perspective, because where he was not as great as he would probably have liked to be, he spoke very well and confidently, and that's fine with me. So, yes, I have Bryce 1, Stroud 2, AR 3, 4, Will Levis, and 5, Hendon Hooker.
Not to put a damper on this, but Foster Monroe just tweeted that he was getting a routine physical, and he found out he has Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Jesus, man.
So he's sadly
cancer.
He's going to be stepping away from football.
That's what Mechie had to step away from the game for last season.
Wow.
Yeah. So hopefully, speedy recovery, but damn.
Yeah, praise up to Foster Moran. That sucks.
Yeah, getting back to the NFL draft though, this is funny because people, the NFL makes millions and billions of dollars of people covering the NFL and covering the NFL draft specifically. And so much of it just depends on landing spot. Stuff that's just like out of our control.
Sure.
We could have the best process. You could be the best, analyst and analytics to have all of this. And one guy can end up with Kyle Shanahan and one guy ends up with Adam Gase. And then everything that ever happens gets thrown out the window. And I think that especially for a guy like Anthony Richardson, who is still so raw and still you have to mold him into the quarterback. He has to become all of these guys. Landing spot matters. Don't get me wrong. But I feel much more confident with Stroud and with Bryce Young that if they end up in Houston and Carolina, however it goes, I feel pretty confident in their floor, right? I don't think either of these guys are going to end up being some backup bums or like have this just complete meltdown in year 2 like Zach Wilson did and get benched. I don't see any of that from those two quarterbacks. But Anthony Richardson, and you hear the boomer bust agenda, all the time, every podcast you tune into, Levis and Richardson, they're the boomer bust guys, Rich and Stroud, he's the safe guy, all of this. But it really just comes down to 2 things for Richardson. One is himself personally, how locked in is he on football and how much does he care about getting better? You could see a guy like Lamar Jackson who worked his ass off to get the quarterback he is today. Jalen Hurts, who worked his ass off from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, being the MVP candidate, a couple plays away from winning the Super Bowl. And from everything I've read and everything I've heard, Richardson's the same way in terms of being locked in. He cares about it. He's impressed coaches. So that matters so much for a guy who doesn't have that many reps. So I think Richardson is in a really good place. And I'm with you. If I was picking number 1 overall, obviously you have all this pressure from ownerships and whatnot. But if you believe in your coaching staff, like Carolina, who has Frank Reich, who has Josh McCown, who they got as the quarterback coach, all of these guys that you're high on, it's hard for me not to sit there and say, listen, if we get Richardson and we could turn him into the guy we think he could be, he's going to clear Bryce Young and CJ Stroud out of the water. Maybe Stroud's the safer guy and he'll get more wins this year. But we saw it with Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's first year, we only started a handful of games. If you could just scheme an offense that first year of him running the ball, being an athlete, and then winning here and there of play action and deep shots, you could win some games that way, especially if you have a good defense and a weaker NFC. So I know some people think it's crazy to have that rich number 1 overall take, but I don't think it's that crazy.
One thing I do want to say is when I say that we haven't seen a prospect like Josh Allen, I mean in the sense of guys that were projected to be first-round selections. Jalen Hurts, of course, we have to mention him in that conversation of was not the best quarterback his first year, definitely not his second year, but year 3, of course, he ascended into MVP territory. But he was a second-round pick. There was not much expectations put on Jalen Hurts. We're talking about a top 7 guy that was projected at one point to be number 1 overall selection too, if people wanted to take Josh Allen 1 because of how crazy his arm talent was. But of course, I wanted to make sure I put that in there. Jalen Hurts has that same level of ascension, but he was not the highly touted prospect that Anthony Richardson has been, that even Will Levis at this point has been, and nowhere near Josh Allen.
I just don't understand the Hendon Hooker, the downgrade because of his age. I don't. I don't think people were really feeling that way towards Kenny Pickett. And Kenny Pickett was an older prospect, same as Hendon Hooker.
I gave him crap for it.
I think Hendon Hooker is a better prospect coming out than Kenny Pickett. I do.
You just worry about the system Hooker was in. That it's just no huddle, up tempo every play, vertical. Like it's just not something you're really going to do in the NFL that often at all.
It was
especially not right out the gate. Not right out.
First in QBR in college before he was injured.
It's you said it's a gimmicky offense. It's.
I mean, that was Ohio State with Justin Fields. I mean, a lot of these quarterbacks run gimmicky offenses in college.
It wasn't the level that Tennessee is.
They were definitely.
And
spread.
One thing you got to give.
Yeah, but not so vertical and goal reliant.
They ran a completely different offense from Ohio State to him in Chicago, where now its offense is completely run oriented.
It's because he can't pass in the NFL.
He doesn't have anyone to pass to.
He threw the lowest amount of tight window throws in the NFL.
Yeah, no doubt. I would be doing the same thing if Velez Jones was my wide receiver.
He also had probably the lowest attempts in the NFL.
No, I'm saying he threw the lowest amount of tight window throws. I mean, which means that most of his throws were open.
Got it.
But, I mean, he had 20 to 25 attempts a game.
Yeah, because they didn't trust him to pass the ball.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying it's hard to have a lot of tight window throws when you don't throw the ball.
I'm also on the side of you need weapons to have success in the NFL, regardless of who you are, unless you're Patrick Mahomes. That's it.
Well, the point I'm making is that even with those weapons, you still have to be accurate. And Justin Fields
you told me with Darnell Mooney, 69% completion percentage.
I mean, that's one player, and Darnell Mooney
that's the only good player.
He's the only NFL receiver on that team last year.
I'm going to stop doing this because I sound very rude when I say this. But Darnell Mooney is the only high level, quote unquote, wide receiver that they have.
We're talking about a wide receiver.
Exactly.
I just feel like when people dumb down football to like this one receiver, it takes away from the plays that happen that he's missed. He's missed.
Sometimes dumbing it down is the best way to analyze things, at least for me personally.
I think that Justin Fields missed a variety of throws, whether it was to receivers that you deemed good or not. Those throws were missed, and those throws by a good quarterback should happen. The same way that you think a certain receiver should get a certain amount of separation because they're a good receiver. This quarterback should be able to make a routine throw because he's just a good quarterback.
And also maybe it's just the history of me analyzing how I was very critical of Jalen Hurts because of similar things. I did not believe in Jalen Hurts' arm talent, not even a little bit. But I acknowledged his run prowess and his ability to run the football. Where now similarly with Justin Fields, I feel like I'm trying to learn from my mistakes. I see the talent, I see the upside, I see how unbelievable he is as a rusher at the quarterback position. And I feel as if you continue to put weapons, which they have tried to this offseason, with now hopefully Mooney getting back to 100%. You acquired Claypool. Hopefully now he has an offseason. And, of course, DJ Moore. So now I understand that, and I'm trying to remain cautious. I'm not cautiously. I'm remaining optimistic with Justin Fields. I see the potential, and I think that where he did not have the weapons, I think that's a big reason why he was not able to be as successful as we all would have liked to see.
I think that in the draft, most of the times people overevaluate ceiling.
Facts.
And that's the reason why Malik Willis, for a lot of people, was the first quarterback for everybody in this past draft, even though he's quite clearly not an NFL quarterback. If you watch him play, he just was not good.
Yeah.
That being said, that's the reason why in 2021, I had Mac Jones over Trey Lance and over Justin Fields. Because Mac Jones was a great quarterback, ready to start day one. He was the best rookie quarterback, and the Patriots just have not surrounded him with weapons.
So,
I think that if the Patriots are able to land D-Hop with Juju, bringing in Gesicki, still having Hunter Henry, the run attack they have, Mac Jones is going to take a pretty good leap in year 3.
Why do you have Richardson over Bryce then?
That's what I'm wondering.
Because I don't think Richardson's that far along. I mean, I don't think Richardson is that far back. That's why. I think he's more rated than people give him credit for.
His accuracy really wasn't
and
great at all.
And also, I think that just him as a runner, I trusted more than I trusted Trey Lance's runner. You know, Fields was a hard eval.
I get it.
Fields was a bit of a hard eval because of Ohio State's offense and the talent that he had. And he had some very terrible games, like the one against Nebraska off the top of my head. Richardson played on a team in the SEC with less talent than everybody else.
Yeah, no talent.
And he was making things happen. And oftentimes he wasn't rewarded for those things. But even then, I think Bryce Young is the better quarterback than Anthony Richardson. It's more so I'm scared of Bryce Young's frame. I am. He's not like he's not Kyler Murray.
Is not bad.
He's not Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray is a better prospect than Bryce Young coming out.
I agree.
Like 100%, he has the athletic ability. But even when people point to Kyler as a success story, you also have to mention that Kyler Murray, for every year in his career, in the second half, has gotten a little bit injured. So you see it already happen to Kyler, who runs around and tries to avoid hits as much as possible. For Bryce Young, who doesn't have that athleticism, if he gets hit, that's something I worry about.
I was going to say, but his game and Kyler's game are different, which you are alluding to. Kyler is more of or the play's breaking down, I can take off because I have that luxury. I'm one of the fastest in the game. Where Bryce, he still is an athletic quarterback. He has great escapability, but he's not trying to make plays happen consistently if they're not there in terms of rushing the football upfield. If he doesn't have it, he doesn't have it. But more often than not, he's looking to pass the ball.
Yeah. Bryce, when he's escaping pressure in the pocket, he's trying to get out of the pocket and throw the ball.
To make something happen.
Yeah, Kyler is more so,
with his arm, I should say.
Yeah, Kyler is more so doing his
but I think Kyler can do what Bryce Young can do.
I agree.
Yeah, for
Kyler's
sure.
Amazing.
I do think Bryce is better throwing over the middle of the field. I think the intangibles too, without a doubt, Bryce Young is better in. I don't know. I understand the concern being 5'10", but I just see what he did at Alabama at multiple seasons, 5-star recruit coming out of high school too. There was, Smitty's Heisman year when Mac Jones was started. People wanted Bryce Young to start that season when Mac Jones went ridiculous. That's how elite of a prospect he was coming out of high school. So he's been this guy the whole time, and it's a shame he didn't get an extra inch or two on him because I think it'd be pretty easily the number one pick if that was the case.
But even him measuring at 206 or 207,
he's not going to play at that probably.
He's not going to play at that weight. He's going to drop down to probably 198 and
Rose eating his pasta before the combine.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely think that he knew how much that had to do with his draft stock. Yeah. And he made sure to put on that extra weight, whether it was
coming in at 5'10"
or not.
was big though. Coming in at 5'10" was big. 5'9" would be concerning.
This from Paul Murray. Checking on Dehls after the Browns news.
We're going to talk about it. To give my quick spiel, not ecstatic. Far from.
Don't let Joel buy jerseys.
Jay's Fuego 1K. Stroud at 1, yes, but sack percentage is credit to O-line. I disagree. I think sack percentage is a quarterback stat. I don't think it's an offensive line stat.
I don't disagree overly. I will say this. I think that when it comes to pocket presence, I think Bryce has it by far.
I think that this year, slowly but surely, people are starting to notice that sack percentage is not an offensive line stat. It's a quarterback stat.
Definitely.
Because a quarterback can go from one situation to the very next situation, and that offensive line can look much better with that quarterback. I think a big example of that is going to be Orlando Brown Jr. I think he's a good offensive lineman. He's a good left tackle. He's going to fit better with what the Bengals want to do in their zone scheme. But Patrick Mahomes is historically great at not taking sacks. And the amount of pressures that Orlando Brown allowed that didn't result in sacks because Mahomes is that great, I think we're going to see in Cincy with Joe Burrow. Although Burrow's gotten better at avoiding sacks, people are going to see the difference in perception and how Orlando Brown was perceived with KC versus Cincy.
Another example of that is the Chargers, because their offensive line in 2021 was great. But in 2022, it was nowhere near that. It's just that Justin Herbert is so great at evading sacks and pressures that it does not show up on the stat sheet. So that's just another example. I've said this very consistently. The quarterback can make your offensive line look a lot better than what it is. And there's certain quarterbacks that really separate themselves from others just because of that alone.
This is from Chris Bass. 1 Young, 2 Stroud, a gap. 3 Richardson, another gap. Hooker, Levis, upside and potential only get you so far. Stroud and Young have the intangibles.
That's exactly correct.
This is from Q Bugavelli. Jalen Hurts did what Josh Allen did, Drew. Same timeline, and I'm a Josh Allen guy. And we might see Fields do it this year. It's just getting weapons.
I saw Q's comment, and I wanted to make sure I made that point because he's 100% correct. And that's was something that I just left out, just not really thinking about it, of course. But really, the difference between what I was trying to say and what he's saying is the first-round projection. Jalen Hurts was never projected to be a first-round selection. Of course, now in hindsight, I'm sure teams wish that he was, or wish that they entertained that idea. But that's another reason. And I didn't see that Fields part, but it's exactly what I said before. It's not crazy to say that, especially with the weapons that we're getting around.
You just wish Fields took more of a leap this past year, even with the weapons and,
his rushing was crazy.
It was for sure, but you would have wished you could have saw more from his arm, like you saw from Josh Allen year 2 and Hurts year 2.
Oh, years 2 Hurts his arm. I still wasn't a huge fan.
It was an improvement. He jumped 5-6% completion percentage.
All right, fair enough.
Q Bugavelli, getting real weapons propels a young quarterback or any quarterback in general. Brady ran to Tampa because they had weapons. Let's chill on Fields.
Bringing up Brady was probably the wrong decision, but I get his thought process. He's saying that Brady ran to Tampa Bay because of the wide receivers, and we see what happened. Brady had mediocrity at the wide receiver position and was still winning multiple playoff games.
So let me ask you this question. Justin Fields obviously got DJ Moore, so now he has more weapons to work with. If the Patriots trade for DeAndre Hopkins, who has a better season, Mac Jones or Justin Fields?
Passing the ball would be Mac Jones, I think, pretty comfortably. When you take in totality of yards and touchdowns, I'd probably still go Justin Fields. He's going to give you 1,000 yards rushing.
You got to think, Chicago lost 7 games last year by 1 score. A big part of that was because their offense was keeping them in games.
Sure.
And another big part is that their defense stinks. So they're giving up a stupid amount of points, but their offense was so high potent that they were constantly in games. I think that if we see Justin Fields take just any type of step as a passer this season, I think the answer has to be Justin Fields.
64% completion.
That's what I'm saying.
I'll be honest.
I'm glad you gave a number.
I'm comfortably going Mac Jones with this. I think Bill O'Brien is a good coach. He's a horrible GM.
Who's ever said that in their life?
But he's a good coach. Bill O'Brien took the Texans to the playoffs in multiple years with no quarterback.
Oh, was that when their defense was great?
Yes.
Okay.
Who built that team though? I mean, who coached that team up? I mean, Bill O'Brien. Come on, man. If you look at his track record as a coach, that
division was also due for a while.
He's a good coach.
How many years was that when they did not have Deshaun? They made the playoffs. Because I'm thinking about it.
They made the playoffs like 3 times.
But he was the head coach with Matt Schaub.
He was coach from 2011 to.
Because I know Andrew Luck obviously won the division.
Things went downhill when he was a GM, but as a coach, he was fine.
As a GM, trading DeAndre for a second round, that's one of the worst moves I've ever seen in my life.
So first season, he went 9-7, 9-7, 9-7, then 4-12, then 11-5, 10-6.
That was their big sign in 2016 when they won.
That 4 years, $72 million.
And they still made the playoffs with Brock Osweiler.
They won a game. Anything overly impressive.
There's no way.
How are you supposed to do that with no quarterback?
I'm not disagreeing.
I'm just saying, Bill O'Brien. He's a good offensive quarterback.
In that playoff game, that's what I'm looking for. It was Brock Osweiler. He went 14 for 25 for 168.
And was that JJ's MVP campaign?
I would imagine so, right? If they made the playoffs with fucking Brock Osweiler.
I was going to say, that's when JJ had 20 sacks. I think he had 5 touchdowns.
Now, that defense was good, but I also can't.
With JJ?
I don't think it's fair to be like, oh, Bill O'Brien's a bad coach, even though the Texans won the division 4 out of 4 times when he in his tenure. And Deshaun Watson as a rookie out the Deshaun Watson as a rookie out the gate.
That they made the playoffs. Wow, interesting.
Deshaun Watson as a rookie out the gate was historically great.
He was really good.
And I don't think we can just look at that and be like, oh, Bill O'Brien had nothing to do with that.
It'll be a huge upgrade because they're going from fucking
we knew Deshaun
Joe
was
Judge and Matt Patricia. So Bill O'Brien is a huge. I'm not a big Bill O'Brien fan, but they were setting Mac Jones up for failure last season.
Well, Bill O'Brien is also a good coach. He's a bad GM. He's a good coach though. He's a good coach. That's what I'm saying. Mac Jones would comfortably have a better season than Justin Fields. Mac Jones,
in terms of what?
I mean, for one, he's a better passer than him. And you look at the Patriots, the offensive line is better than the Bears. If you bring in D-Hop, you have Juju, Kendrick Bourne, and Devontae Parker probably stay there as like the third, fourth receiver, whatever. Your tight ends, Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki, and then Ramondre Stevenson in the backfield. Yeah, I think he'll have a better season than Fields.
No,
for sure.
I mean,
and he's shown more to this point as a quarterback than Justin Fields. Mac Jones,
I would say so too. It's just the almost the same argument you could have with the Richardson and Stroud. Like, we know Mac Jones and we know his ceiling. Justin Fields, if he reaches that ceiling, is going to blow Mac Jones out of the water. But we know Mac can at least get you to the playoffs. He did it his rookie season.
I will say the supporting cast around Mac Jones, if they do acquire DeAndre Hopkins, is significantly better than what Justin Fields is going to be playing with. But regardless of the fact,
it's better.
It's better. Significantly. Ramondre Stevenson is definitely significantly better than what Justin Fields has going on over there with his running back room.
D-Hop is better than DJ Moore. We know that.
Significantly.
Darnell Mooney or Juju?
I would take Mooney right now. Juju's a better blocker.
I'm not high on Mooney. I think I'd take Juju still. I'll be honest.
Depends.
But I don't think it's significant though.
It's not.
I it's DeAndre Hopkins.
I was saying Juju. I was saying Juju and Mooney.
Like, it's not that it like
Ramondre Stevenson, as good as he was as a rusher, we got to understand how still really fucking good he is as a pass catcher as well.
When I say not significant, if Mac Jones has a better season than him,
and the offensive line, I'm taking into account also.
I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, it was supposed to happen because it's just overwhelming talent. Like,
well, the reason why why people were so critical of Mac Jones this season was because he was not as statistically great. But again, we acknowledge he does not have the supporting cast around him.
Yeah. Well, it was more than that.
It was coaching, I think, was number one.
There was
Matt Patricia was calling
because even his rookie year, it's not like he had this plethora of weapons.
Fair.
His rookie year, he didn't. And
he didn't.
That's what I'm saying. Is like
Hunter Henry had a great year.
The same way people talk about other quarterbacks making the third year leap. If the Patriots can land D-Hop, Mac Jones can surprise people.
I don't disagree.
The Patriots receiving room has been abysmal.
I don't think Mac Jones is going to surprise. I feel like everyone knows what Mac can be, what he is, what his floor is. Like, he's going to be at worst a average starter in the league. At best, he could be an above average starter. I don't see much traction there.
I mean, I don't see much of a difference in Mac Jones or Jared Goff.
Neither do I.
I don't see much difference in Mac Jones.
People have Jared Goff as like a top 11 quarterback.
Yeah, because they're letting this past season blind them. Jared Goff is not that good.
And also, once you get past those 7 or 8 guys, it's like this a tier, you know.
I'm with you. I'm just saying I wanted to make sure that was in the conversation because people have Jared Goff as a top 11. By saying that, then you're allowing people, that may not be us, of course, people to believe you think, hey, Mac Jones could be a top 12, top 13
People
guy.
do shit on Mac Jones. He's not a scrub. He's far from a scrub.
He could play.
He could play for sure. He's a starter in this league without a doubt.
Somebody said Mac Jones' peak is prime Matt Ryan.
Oh, I don't know.
So he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
I guess if he has Julio and maybe all these guys
respect
some
Matt
crazy
Ryan.
numbers.
Stop it.
No, that is disrespect to Matt Ryan.
Stop it. He was clutch.
He had Julio, Shanahan. Maybe
was he clutch?
So he was. He rewatched the game, man. Rewatched the
game against Seattle. He was clutch.
The fake Matty Ice.
The teams with the 2 first picks in the draft are the Panthers and Texans, and we're going to be comparing these situations and answering the question of which situation is better for a young quarterback. Now, Drew, you gave me a sneak peek on your Twitter. I know you're going to side with the Texans.
I am.
Dehls, I'm curious to see what you're going to say first. Texans or Panthers, what situation is better?
I like both these situations, right? I do have a preference here, and it's going to go against Drew's. I do think it's the Panthers.
Okay.
If you want to talk specifically weapons, I could get it, right, with the Texans' recent signings. I love the Dalton Schultz signing. 1 year.
Yeah.
First of all, the fact that Josh Oliver got $21 million and Dalton Schultz got 1 year, $89 million. I mean, if this was a couple of weeks ago or last episode, I would have had Schultz on, one of the best values of all free agency. He's one of the better pass catching tight ends in the league. And the fact that Dallas couldn't retain him for that low of a contract is a bit, eye opening. But I think it's the Panthers because most importantly, I believe coaching staff develops quarterbacks more than anything, right? I think you could have great weapons. I think you could have a great offensive line. But if you have a bad coach and a coach who cannot develop a quarterback, it's going to be really hard for that quarterback to reach its true potential. And then the Panthers, who, like we mentioned in the previous topic, Frank Reich, Josh McCown, they brought in guys who, Josh McCown, obviously first-time coach, but Frank Reich has had a track record of developing quarterbacks no matter what stage of their career, whether it's young, whether they're older. Obviously, they went through 1,000 quarterbacks in Indy, and although the division wasn't great, they were always in competition outside this last season of win that division, going to the playoffs, and a lot of that had to do with Frank Reich. Although he wasn't developing the Phillip Rivers of the world and Carson Wentz's, he still had a major output on their seasons, and we saw what happened when Carson Wentz went to Washington. And then you see the moves they made this offseason. Miles Sanders, who I thought was a bit of an overpay, but still they let Deontay Foreman walk, so they had to get a running back. Hayden Hurst, solid tight end. Adam Thielen, probably a number 3 at this point. But the way their wide receiver room was looking, he's probably their best wide receiver, depending on how you feel about Terrence Marshall. But they still have picks 39, 93, couple of fourth, couple of fifth round picks. So I think with at least one of those picks, especially in that 39 range, you're going to have multiple wide receivers who could have possibly been in first round talents who are going to slip to that second round. There's really, outside of a couple guys, there's just a huge gap of good wide receivers in this draft class, but none that really are going to jump off the screen, especially when you get into day 2 of this draft. Then you bring in Dameon Pierce as well, and they signed Devin Singletary as well to be a complimentary back.
I didn't like that.
Didn't love it either. I think they need a body there, and extending Laramie Tunsil was huge too.
Enormous.
But I do think the Panthers, the moves they made, coupled with the coaching decisions in the offensive line, who I think will be maybe on par with the Texans because of how great Tunsil is. He could really bring up that whole group if you're going to be able to just lock down that blind side the way he's able to. But I just believe in Frank Reich, that coaching staff to develop a quarterback, and the weapons will come over time.
You mentioned Laramie Tunsil and them the Texans extending him, giving him a 3-year, $75 million contract, making him the highest paid tackle in the NFL. They also acquired Shaq Mason from a trade from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They extended Quessenberry. So they're trying to build a strong offensive line for their future quarterback, which right now, as it seems, is going to be Bryce Young. Now, the way I see it, now you bring in Bryce Young to be your franchise quarterback, of course, number 2 overall. That's the expectation. You also do have the 12th overall selection from the Cleveland Browns. And who's going to fall into your lap potentially? JSN, the best wide receiver in this class, if you're talking to Andrew Velez. And you pair that with already acquiring Robert Woods. Joel mentioned it, Dalton Schultz, one of the best offseason signings I've seen, a 1-year, $9 million deal. And that's also due to the high-level tight ends in this draft as well. And he's trying to play the market for next season. So signing a 1-year prove-it deal, I think that he is going to be Bryce Young's early favorite targets early in the season because he's one of the most reliable tight ends in the game. And I simply see it as why I would rather play for this team is because I have more weapons that I could actually trust. Adam Thielen at this point in his career, we could acknowledge that Adam Thielen once was a great wide receiver in this league. At this point in time, he's not that. Terrence Marshall has shown promise at times, but he is a wide receiver 3 also, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's shown just as much as like Elijah Moore.
Oh man, I don't know about all that.
He has though.
But you have reliability in Robert Woods. John Mechie, God willing, will return this season.
Exciting.
Now potentially you add JSN to this core. Now that's a respectable wide receiver group. And then of course now you add to the fact that Dalton Schultz is there and a solid offensive line. And I forgot to mention Dameon Pierce, who was one of the best rookie running backs last season. Now I may not be a huge fan of the Devin Singletary signing, but at least he is a solid pass catching back if you need him to do so. But Dameon Pierce showed that he can do a little bit of everything. I think this offense is ready right now to have at least some type of success. And this is exactly what you want. You want a rookie quarterback to be paired with a rookie wide receiver, the best wide receiver in this class, and to have them grow together with this core around them. I understand the defense does need help in terms of the front 7, because I think this secondary is solid. But right now, if you are the Houston Texans, you need to prioritize offense because you lost that once Deshaun was gone. And of course, once you traded DeAndre Hopkins. But right now, this draft, the 2023 NFL draft, could be a huge step for the Houston Texans rebuild. And I think that we will look years in the future and look at this 2023 draft as the class that changed the Houston Texans. Getting Bryce and getting JSN immediately makes this offense exciting, especially with just the low-key signings. Dalton Schultz, Robert Woods, and God willing, Mechie's back. Bryce has guys that he can rely on off rip.
Nico Collins there, Brevin Jordan,
No
who
doubt.
I know people are high on.
That's a fact. Brevin Jordan had a solid.
Sorry, did I take away your Brevin Jordan, Sean? Are we going to go into a 5-minute soliloquy on him?
Jordan, he's good, man.
I know you're a big Panthers guy.
Listen, for
that
me,
defense is solid, so I understand that aspect. But the offense, really, I'm sorry, I didn't mention the Panthers. Just really quick before you go, I see the upside in terms of team success. The defense is solid, absolutely. But in terms of offense, I'm not turned on by the idea of Adam Thielen being my wide receiver one.
We're on D&D, bro.
Dude, my phone vibrated
so much,
bro. I'm sorry. That's lack of professionalism for me.
Maybe somebody just disturbed you anyway.
Maybe. They delivered quietly.
Yeah.
That's some bullshit that they allowed that.
So I look at the Texans, and the way they build their team is interesting because it's kind of been like 2 off seasons now where they're just handing out 1-year deals to players. Shaq Mason has 1 year left on his contract. Dalton Schultz is on a prove-it year. It's a 1-year, $9 million deal. Like, I get it. It's a good signing for the Texans. There's a reason why the Cowboys didn't bring him back.
Why is that?
Because he's easily replaceable by somebody.
I was going to say, they liked Ferguson a lot, and there's good talent in this draft. So
I think if they want to draft Dalton Kincaid or Michael Mayer or Darnell Washington in the second round, that'll replace Schultz pretty easily.
Tight ends take a while to develop, though.
Whatever.
Outside of Kyle Pitts, it really takes a while.
Does it?
It does.
To get to Schultz level?
Historically, yeah. I mean, Schultz
maybe
is
to elite
Schultz was
level.
what, an 800, 900 yard?
Yeah, for sure. That's a very small list of rookie tight ends who did that.
But you look at the Houston Texans,
Pitts and Dicka.
I think the Singletary signing was good because in the NFL now, you don't want a workhorse running back. You want running backs to kind of share snaps. And I look at...
Call me a boomer. Give me my running back to be a workhorse, excuse me.
I look at what the Texans were this past season. They finished as the worst team in the league at generating yards before contact in the running game, averaging just 0.8 yards all year. Laramie Tunsil was a top 3 left tackle last season. Shaq Mason had a 93% pass block win rate, which is very good. He's also a very stout run blocker. Ultimately, when it comes to the Panthers and the Texans and the situation, you guys mentioned off the talent they each have. For me, it comes down to coaching staff. And when I look at the Panthers coaching staff, you have Frank Reich, Josh McCown, Sean Jefferson, a wide receivers coach who's developed some good wide receivers in his tenure, Duke Staley, Ajero Vero, Dom Capers, Jim Caldwell. This is an all-star coaching staff. You couldn't ask for a better coaching staff.
Really good coaching staff.
And I'd rather be missing a wide receiver than missing an offensive line. The Texans have Laramie Tunsil, who's an elite offensive lineman. Titus Howard is okay, and Shaq Mason is good. Questenberry was horrible this past season.
No doubt.
You look at the Panthers' offensive line, Aquanu's going to be an elite left tackle. Brady Christensen is solid. Bradley Bozeman is a good starting center. Austin Corbett is a good right guard. You look at Taylor Mond, he's one of the better right tackles in the league, and he just had his best pass protecting season this past season. He only allowed Martin had his best pass protecting season this season, but we're talking about Aquanu. He only allowed 27 pressures on 552 pass blocking snaps, and they have the 10th best rushing offense in 2022. If it wasn't for Matt Rule not having an idea on how to run this offense or how to play to their strengths, they would have been better. But until he got fired, that's when they started running the ball. Steve Wilkes understood the strengths of the team. I mean, Devontae Foreman is a journeyman running back, and he had 914 yards and 5 touchdowns.
He was successful with Tennessee the year prior, though.
No, Devontae Foreman is a good player. And Tennessee is also a run-first team. They have the schematics for them. They know what they're going to do, and they're a good run-blocking team. I can count on the Panthers being a great running team out the gate, like a top 10 running attack in the league. And you add Miles Sanders to that, they probably They're probably going to add another running back. I didn't like the price tag for Sanders. I don't think Sanders is worth that. I think he's just another running back. But in this system with this offensive line, he'll get his yardage.
1,100, 10 touchdowns. You're bound to get paid.
And Terrace Marshall, I'm very high on him. I think that he's going to have a good season. Is he a wide receiver number one? He's probably not.
Is he a wide receiver too?
I think he can be. I like Terrace Marshall Jr. a lot.
I can be anything I put my mind to,
I like Terrace Marshall Jr. a lot.
He showed his rookie year, he did nothing. He was basically didn't suit up for most of the season. Last year, he had some moments here or there, but Elijah Moore has shown more. Put some respect on his name.
Terrace Marshall had a better season than him, right?
Say his rookie year.
No, I'm saying compared to second years, Terrace Marshall was better.
Not surprising, Zach. Elijah had the worst quarterback in the league.
Yeah, the Panthers had great quarterback play.
So much better.
I'm
so
sure.
much better.
I'm sure it was so much better, right?
How many more targets do you think Marshall had?
Mike White played some games, right?
Yeah, that's when Elijah Moore was good. He had like one good game.
Mike White. No, it wasn't. Even when Mike White was in there, he didn't play well. Oh, Chicago! Everybody, come on! They had 8 backups in the game.
Zach Wilson would have done that.
I would hope you did.
No way. He would have made it a close game.
But looking at the Texans staff, they were the 25th ranked passing offense, 31st ranked rushing offense. And their offensive coordinator is going to be a first-time OC. His name is Bobby Slowick. And he was an offensive assistant with the 49ers for 2 years. Then it was the passing game coordinator. Him coming from the Shanahan tree does make me feel better. I think that he'll bring some innovative ideas. And just looking at how the Texans are building the roster, they're going to pivot to a more run-heavy play-action attack to help their young quarterback. But I really love them getting Shane Day. He's their offensive assistant. He was the Niners quarterback coach. The past 2 years, he's been the Chargers quarterback coach, coaching up Justin Herbert. I like those moves, but listen, I think the talent is similar. The talent is similar. If you could lean the Texans in terms of the receiving talent, but at this stage in their career, Robert Woods and Adam Thielen is like a toss-up.
No doubt.
That's a toss-up.
You want to take a Elijah Moore versus Terrace Marshall bet?
We can do that.
Okay. Comp 50?
After the draft.
Comp 50.
After the draft?
See who the Panthers draft.
Does it matter if they took Stroud or Bryce?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about in terms of how many receivers they draft.
Oh, okay. I don't think the Panthers, maybe at 39 is really the only spot that an impact receiver would come in.
But I look at the Panthers, offensive line clears the Texans' offensive line, in my opinion. They have a better rush attack. Their coaching staff is better. The receivers, the Texans have it because Dalton Schultz, he gives them a bit of an edge. But ultimately, I think that you can find that. The Panthers could very well draft a tight end in the second round and a receiver. And I'm like, now it's even. So
very limited draft capital, though, you got to remember. They only have, outside the number one pick, 3 or 4 draft picks.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at all young quarterbacks come into the NFL, usually their first season is the year that they don't have overwhelmingly great receiving talent.
It's true.
And then the second year, third year, you get that for them. I think the Panthers will get it eventually. I think that CJ Stroud will be in a better situation.
If CJ Stroud proves early, of course, they're going to try and surround him with as much weapons as possible.
The Panthers could make the playoffs in the NFC South. I mean, every team in the NFC South has a chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah. And also, does it bother you that historically, first-time play caller with rookie head coach doesn't always work out? I mean, Zach Wilson is obviously the first name that comes to mind. But
do we want to talk about Josh McCown as well, being a first-time play caller also?
That's true, but Frank Reich's there.
I get it. No doubt. No, I think the coaching situation
is he going to be a play caller?
I don't know if McCown's calling plays.
No, it's going to be Reich. I only say that because the first-time OC, and I know D'Amico's
I don't know if McCown's the OC, though. I think he's just the quarterback's coach.
Whatever you want to call it. To me, either which way, I understand the coaching situation significantly better with the Panthers.
We think D'Amico Ryan's going to be great. Let's not get twisted. We think D'Amico Ryan's going to be a really good coach. Just
no doubt.
Rookie quarterback, you would like to have the offensive guy.
I get
McCown is the quarterback's coach. The offense coordinator is Thomas Brown.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And D'Amico brought over a guy from the 49ers to be OC, I know.
His name's, hold on, I just looked it up.
I had Bobby Slowick.
Thomas Brown was the tight ends coach and the assistant head coach for the Rams last season.
And also, everyone's just young on his, coaching staff.
They are all young.
Yeah. Saleh did this very similar when he brought over all his guys.
Not many names that I'm accustomed with.
Yeah.
Outside of...
A lot of them are probably Niners
correct,
assistants and stuff.
Correct.
Yeah.
But, Bobby Slowick, I think, has a good resume.
So the floor.
Bobby Slowick was the assistant. No, he was the assistant offensive coach. Okay. So that to me holds more weight than the passing coordinator.
Why?
Because you're the assistant offensive. You're managing both sides of the offense, the running game and the passing game.
Still first time.
Yeah, no, obviously Frank Reich I mean, I trust him more.
Yeah, for sure.
And he'll call the play. So, I'm comfortable. He's going to have a lot of fun with those mesh routes. Very easy mesh routes. Now, before we go on to the next topic, a quick word from Athletic Greens. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/pickaside. That's athleticgreens.com/pickaside. Cover your nutritional needs, and it's very easy to use. I've been drinking Athletic Greens this entire pod. I know Drew's not a fan of it, but I love the taste. What
do you mean by that?
You're not a fan of, you're not a fan of the powder into the water.
Thank you. That's the key, because with water, I'm sorry, is not
Where do you put
my
almond milk or
preference.
something?
You put it in a shake. You put it with your almond milk, your banana, your peanut butter. You can't go wrong.
No, it definitely probably tastes better, but I like the earthy feel, water, straight water, greens. This is the Athletic Greens in my hand.
I respect it. Hey, listen, there's people similar to him. Absolutely, it is. I've been working out, man, and I'll tell you what.
Good.
Is the cycle crazy?
Cycle? Can't hurt.
My God, the more I lift, the stronger I get, and I just see all these cheaters in the gym. Maybe that's what keeps me locked in. It's like, I don't want to be them, but I understand that they're putting in a lot less work than I am. They look crazy.
They do.
Shout out to Alexis. He says water does the job.
As a nurse, though,
it does.
It's bad luck.
I know.
Bad luck to the nurse community.
It is. I'm not doing any favors for my body. No doubt.
Now, this is from Caleb Belts. Don't sleep on the Raiders.
I'm going to sleep.
I'm going to hibernate, probably.
Screw those guys.
Great, yeah. I don't know. They went from Derek Carr and Darren Waller to Jimmy G and Jacoby Myers. Feels like a pretty significant downgrade, in my opinion.
Pass.
Yeah. Obviously, they got Tay and Renfro, but not great.
Myers can play outside. You know that his
Josh McDaniels.
My bad. He'll figure it all out. He has a great track record.
Yards run per route last season were better on the outside than the slot. Myers finished, I think, like top 30 in yards run per route.
Good for him. Rather Waller.
I think he's finished top 10.
Jacoby Myers is good.
Yeah, he's not a slouch by any means. He's a solid player.
He's probably better than Darren Waller right now.
I'd rather have Waller.
The upside, sure. Myers is the better player.
What world?
Recently. In the world we've been living in recently. Myers,
not my world.
Stop sleeping on Myers.
Who do you think has a better year?
Stop sleeping on Waller.
Waller or Myers? Devontae Adams probably stays in Las Vegas, so Waller, if he's the first receiving.
More opportunity.
All right, then let's
Waller.
stop having this conversation.
What do you mean? It's from situation, not because
I'm just going to pass on this conversation.
Waller.
Daniel Jones, bro. It's not that far from Jimmy G.
What do you mean? Clears.
My bad. Jimmy G's not that far off from Daniel Jones, I should say.
Now, a couple podcasts ago, I think last football pod, we talked about the NFC East.
We did.
And, I gave my take that the Cowboys are going to win the NFC East pretty comfortably.
Comfortably.
And that was before they traded for Brandin Cooks. So they traded a 2023 fifth-round pick and a 2024 sixth-round pick. And you want to know what the first words out of Brandin Cooks' mouth were? I couldn't be more hungry. He's starving. And the Dallas Cowboys gives him the perfect place to fill up that tummy. And I think Brandin Cooks is going to be amazing with the Dallas Cowboys, and it fixes one of the Cowboys' major problems. Now, this past season, people were quick to jump on Dak Prescott not being a great quarterback because of the interception numbers, although most of his interceptions were not his fault, at least half of them that I counted. But also last season, the Cowboys didn't have much weapons. CeeDee Lamb is the only standout. Dak last season had the highest tight window throw rate in the NFL. And I think that it fixes the Cowboys separation issues, because now Brandin Cooks with CeeDee Lamb, with now hopefully healthy Michael Gallup, and he's now better, you're now creating more separation. The lack of separation last year was an issue. 19.8% of Dak's passes were thrown into tight windows. That's almost 20%. That's 1 out of every 5 passes you're throwing into an extremely tight window. And top 5 for reference this past season were Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill, Carson Wentz, and Marcus Mariota. Now, with some of these, the argument can be made that they might have the weapons, but sometimes you're throwing into tight windows because the play develops. You're waiting for the play to develop a little bit too long. You're not anticipating it. So then you're throwing into these tight windows. And I think that was the case with Mariota and Wentz. But with Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill, those are guys that the cast around them wasn't the greatest. And because of that, this stat shows that they needed to improve their receiving cores for these respective teams. But I look at Brandin Cooks, what he's going to bring. I think he's going to be lined up on the outside. Michael Gallup too. I think Cooks is the X, Gallup is the Z, and CD will be the Y. He will be in the slot. You can replace Dalton Schultz. I know that they lost him. I think you can replace him. Jake Ferguson maybe is the guy. He showed some flashes last season, although if it was me, I'd be much more comfortable if they drafted one of these top tight end prospects in this draft. You're bringing back Tony Pollard. You can draft a running back to replace what Zeke brought you because Zeke was at the tail end of his career. That's how running backs go usually in their career. And this defense is going to be elite. I look at the Cowboys and they feel like the best team in the NFC to me. I'm not going to sleep on the 49ers still because Javon Hargrave was a huge signing. And this is an underrated move, but Isaiah Oliver to the 49ers. Now, the 49ers do a great job at getting players in the secondary that nobody knows about, like Hufanga was a late-round pick. He developed into an all-pro. But their secondary, Charvarius Ward, who recently people started talking about, but he's a great player. Lenore, as a rookie last year, was very good. Ambry Thomas was good last year.
Pick aside, acknowledge how good Charvarius Ward was before the world started talking about him.
Isaiah Oliver for the Falcons last season was very good. And he's very stout in run defense. He could man up. He plays cover. He's good in zone. Oliver, to me, was an underrated signing, and I don't want to sleep on the 49ers just yet. But with them, it's always a question of the quarterback. You know, they're going to get by the regular season. In the playoffs, they're going to win 1 or 2 games. But it always comes – in the NFC Championship, I don't know what it is with Kyle Shanahan. He just cannot get past it, outside of if they're facing Green Bay, of course. But I don't know. That's the thing. But I look at the NFC. The Eagles lost a ton of players. They lost coordinators. The 49ers quarterback is an issue. Maybe Sam Darnold went starting the job, and we're going crazy over the former 3rd overall pick.
No, I wouldn't be going crazy.
But really, the Cowboys...
Being pinned?
Yeah, a little bit.
The Cowboys, to me, feel like the team that... No, they're going to win the NFC next year. I think they're going to win the NFC. And this is the first offseason that they've made splash moves. When's the last time the Cowboys have made a splash move in the offseason?
All they've done is
I feel like drafting CD was pretty huge.
And all they do is re-sign their guys because they've had talent for a long time.
That's what I'm saying. They don't make these splash moves. The last splash move, CeeDee Lamb, I was thinking about that, but the last splash move was trading for Amari Cooper. That was the last splash move.
That was a minute ago. That was during the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that turned their season around mid-season. But in the offseason, they have not brought in big-time players to fill needs. And in this offseason alone, they brought in Stephon Gilmore. They brought in Brandin Cooks. Now, I don't know why Cooks gets traded all the time. He actually made history. Brandin Cooks is now the most traded player in NFL history, tied with Kiko Alonso.
Damn. I'm glad you mentioned that because I wanted to talk about the packages that he's been traded for. At this point in time, in 2017, he was traded for a first and a third. In 2018, he was traded for a first and a sixth. In 2020, he was traded for a second. And in 2023, he was traded for a fifth and a sixth. So that's 2 firsts, a second, a third, 2 fifths, and 2 6th-round picks.
He produces no matter where he is.
He's a dog.
He actually said that he'd rather get traded because that means that teams are not waiting for him to hit the open market. So he takes it as a compliment.
Yeah, they want him.
He's had 6 seasons of over 1,000 yards.
Very calm.
His last 1,000-yard season was not this season, not this previous season, but the season before that.
And he was on pace this year for like 950 if he stayed healthy.
He quit this season.
I was going to say it was a matter of health, but at the same time, he wanted nothing to do with the Texans because he wanted to be traded.
Yeah.
It was a shock that he wasn't traded mid-season at the trade deadline, especially with how active this trade deadline was, this most previous one.
He's hungry.
But this was a solid move. Extremely.
We get a non-biased Cowboys take now, too. No more Zeke.
And it's not non-biased.
No,
it's talking about
Joe. With me.
Joe.
It's talking with me.
Because he usually has the Cowboys agenda, but now no more Zeke, so now he's just clear-headed.
And I said this last podcast where Joel was being a lot more, let me say, exaggeratory, saying that they're most definitely the best team in the NFC
East. Oh, no doubt.
I said, let's pump the brakes on that. I need to see what they do at wide receiver 2. That was when conversations of potentially DeAndre Hopkins was going to be available, potentially Odell Beckham. But I think at the same time, the money wasn't going to be right there. So I didn't think that was a reality. Now they acquire Brandin Cooks, who I'm going to be honest is a great consolation prize. It's not DeAndre Hopkins, but at the same time, we understand the upside of Brandin Cooks and the model of consistency that he is. Lined up next to CeeDee Lamb, it's going to be interesting what they do to replace the tight end. I think Ferguson comes in. He'll do a fine job. That's all right. Hopefully, Tony Pollard is available opening day because that is a huge boost in their offense, both rushing and receiving. That becomes one of the faster offenses in the league as well. I said it. I'm waiting to give my final evaluation of the Dallas Cowboys until I see what they do with that second wide receiver spot. And now that they got Brandin Cooks
locked in,
Joel is not that far off, to be completely honest with you. The Eagles and Cowboys are close. It's very marginal, but I feel like the difference will be whose secondary will be better. Because last year we saw with the Eagles towards the end of the season where they were the number one pass offense. That really was more predicated on how amazing their pass rush was as opposed to the amazing talent that they have in the secondary. Although talented in their own right, credit to Big Play Slay, credit to James Bradbury, C.J. Garner-Johnson, who will no longer be there. Blankenship now comes into that role as now one of the starting safeties, but Epps also is now gone. So you look at the Cowboys, and you could argue they have the best corner duo in the game now. Their front seven is one of the better in the league. Micah Parsons is one of the best pass rushers in the league. And you pair that next to DeMarcus Lawrence as well. That's one of the most dangerous duos one of the most dangerous duos on any front line there is in the National Football League. This offense definitely is one that I am looking forward to this season. I'm optimistic and hopeful that Tony Pollard is healthy. It hurts that Zeke is not going to be there for the ride. Of course, that's one of those guys I expected to retire, a Dallas Cowboy, but you couldn't make the money work. Zeke's an expensive contract. It's understandable why they had to let him go. But it's very close. And I'm going to wait until after draft and we get close to the season to give my final standings. But the Dallas Cowboys have had an unbelievable offseason, in my opinion, the second best offseason.
What Drew's
Broncos.
What Drew's basically saying is that he's going to pick the Cowboys when it's time to pick the Cowboys. That's what he's saying. He's not going to make the take now. He's not going to be like me and make it a week early. He's gonna wait, but he's going with the Cowboys
because I know draft time is coming around. I know the Eagles have a top 10 pick. Yep. That pick could be huge.
Probably will be.
There's going to be a great player at that position for the Philadelphia Eagles.
And Drew, what you didn't mention is that last year we know the Cowboys and Eagles were close. If the Cowboys face the Eagles in the NFC Championship, the Cowboys win that game, and they go on to the bowl. We know that.
That I
don't
know.
Serious.
That I don't know.
Be so serious.
We know that.
They got smoked out by
San
Francisco 49ers.
Put your
and
Eagles
Dak
bias
actually,
aside.
Dallas
being biased.
Dak
I haven't said
trash.
a word.
They're being biased.
I haven't said a word. I could agree with you. How do you know?
Let's go. Cowboys.
I don't think you have anything against Dallas.
I don't have anything against Dallas. He says I have Eagles. I have a Jalen Hurts agenda. If Jalen Hurts leaves the Eagles tomorrow,
agenda, you have an Eagles bias.
That's a fact, but it's not like I have this hatred towards the Cowboys because I love the Eagles. I just love their quarterback.
I mean, it's fine to admit that the Cowboys would have whooped that ass.
Unlikely.
Know that.
What would have happened?
What
would happen in the Super Bowl? Cowboys, Chiefs. What would have happened? Would have been that close?
The Chiefs won. The Chiefs would win.
Pretty comfortably, I think.
Chiefs would win.
Because Dak isn't like Jalen.
No, because Mahomes is Mahomes.
I thought you said that Dallas was going to win the whole shebang.
No, I didn't. I said they were going to get there.
He did. He did.
I never said
he'd win the NFC.
The Chiefs was always my winners, man.
That's a fact. Great deal for the Cowboys. Solidified 2 huge holes. Cornerback 2, Stephon Gilmore. And right when they made that move, I was like, if they just get a wide receiver 2, this roster's in really good shape. And we're just only a couple of weeks into free agency. And they did that, getting Brandin Cooks. And when he's healthy, he's basically a lock for 1,000 yards. We talked about it at length last season, how Dak Prescott needs more weapons, how Michael Gallup coming off a torn ACL, you have Noah Brown, who's this journeyman, just isn't enough at the wide receiver room for Dallas. They did lose Dalton Schultz, which I think is bigger than maybe you guys are talking about, because listen, or at least Joel, because the tight ends in this class, yes, they're very promising and they have a lot of upside, but historically, tight ends just do not make an impact year one. Outside of Kyle Pitts, who had 1,000 yards, you go down the list, there's a very small group of guys. Even if you look at the Mark Andrews of the world, who's a fantastic tight end now, it took him multiple seasons for him to really get going. So while they did lose Dalton Schultz to be like to be Mark Andrews, to be Mark Andrews, not like
Mark Andrews was as good as Dalton Schultz his rookie year.
I don't think so.
Yes, he was.
I don't think so. What did Mark Andrews put up his rookie year? I'd be curious.
552.
Okay, that's calm. Schultz is like an 809 guy.
No, he's not. He did it one time.
That was
no. 2020, Dalton Schultz had 615. 2021, he had 808. And 2022, he had 577. And Dak missed time last year. And that definitely
he had 615, but Dalton Schultz didn't play his rookie and sophomore season. It was until his third season where he had 615 yards. Mark Andrews as a rookie had 552.
Okay, maybe Mark Andrews wasn't the best example.
Not the best by any means.
Even his rookie year, we're talking about 540 yards. And that's for one of the best tight ends who's right now.
Yes, but
year two, he was at 852.
But this is the thing, though. This is where I disagree with this thinking, because
don't harp on the Mark Andrews point. I think he knows that.
No, it's not the Mark Andrews point. Good. It's the fact that if you have CD and you have Cooks, two guys that will go for 1,000, you don't need your tight end to go for 800.
You don't, not necessarily.
You can your tight
especially
end
when Tony Pollard is both a
your tight end
rushing
can
and
give you
threat.
500 and you're fine with it. Like that's great production. In my opinion.
And Ferguson, I think that it was a calmer transition for them because Ferguson has had success.
He showed some moments last year.
Only four teams last season had two players that had 1,000 yards receiving or more. It's a very rare company.
Only two?
Only 4 teams.
Oh, 4. Okay.
I'm just saying the rookie wide receivers hit at a very larger rate year one than rookie tight ends and have a larger impact.
Can we take a second and me try to guess who are the 4?
Yes.
I appreciate that. Miami Dolphins?
Yes.
I'm wondering if Jamar's injury did not have him at 1,000. I'm just going to say the Bengals.
I'm looking at it.
That's okay.
Now.
Go ahead.
You said the Dolphins, right?
The Dolphins absolutely were the lock.
Jamar Chase did.
Okay, he did. All right. So then the Bengals for sure.
Yep.
This is where
it's 2 more that should be pretty easy.
I'm overthinking it.
I know Gabe Davis didn't get 1,000.
No, and I know
the Eagles.
Facts. The Eagles. Yeah, I know. He didn't. He gave us 0.
So far it's the Eagles, Dolphins,
and the Bengals.
All right. And there's actually 2 more teams. Sorry.
Oh, so there's 5.
The Niners didn't do it. Devo's probably hurt, right?
No.
Chargers?
No. Mike Williams and Keenan got hurt too much.
They both didn't get 1,000, actually.
Yeah. Keenan missed 8 games.
One of the teams plays for the NFC. Both teams. The last 2 teams are in the NFC.
Bucks, no. Godwin did.
Bucks, yep.
Bucks got it.
Godwin did get 1,000.
What a fucking animal.
1,023.
He's him.
Another 2 in the AFC?
No, he said the last one's in the NFC. Yo, we're selling. I'm overthinking it. That's all it is, truthfully.
It's 2 players that were you're probably surprised that they got it.
Was it Seahawks?
Yeah.
There you go. Lockett does it in his sleep, and then DK's DK. To get back to the Cowboys, though,
Smith.
I do think
Smithian?
Yeah.
Cooks is fantastic, right? I think you could damn near, if he's healthy, lock him 900 yards plus, maybe he gets that 1,000. I still do think another wide receiver or another weapon of some kind is needed on this team. You guys are Jake Ferguson guys, it sounds like. I need to see it before I could lock him in to be a number 3 receiver on a team that Joel thinks could go to the Super Bowl. So I would like them to see to get some sort of weapon. Maybe it is that rookie tight end who they could develop over time. I don't think they're going to come in and have a large impact year one. But with that being said, it's not ridiculous to say the Cowboys can make the Super Bowl because the NFC is weak, right? It's not crazy. I know Joel loves his hot takes and all of this, but it's not that crazy. And I know I am, the Eagles truther of the group here. And I just want to say, the Eagles might have lost 6 starters. Javon Hargrave, by far the biggest loss. They're gonna miss him a lot.
For sure.
But you still have Fletcher Cox. You still have Jordan Davis. And then you go around the rest of their losses. They lost a guard in Isaac Samalo.
That's a big loss.
The rest of the offensive line's ridiculous.
It is.
They lost Samalo. They lost TJ Edwards, a linebacker, a safety, and CJ Gardner-Johnson's a really good player. But a lot of pieces. They have 2 first-round picks. They have 1 or 2 second-round. I think 1 second-round pick and a third-round pick. They have picks to be able to come in, especially the 10th overall pick that if they wanted to, could trade down and get more picks on day 2. And you know how Roseman is, wheeling and dealing. He made the CJ Gardner-Johnson trade just before the regular season last year. So it's not like they're going to go into next season with the team they have now. They're going to be making moves. They're going to be plugging holes. And it's not like outside of Hargrave, I don't see this massive, huge hole that the Eagles, oh my God, they lost all these guys. For the most part, the core is still there. They have Hurts. They have the receivers. The offensive line is still going to be a top 5 group in the league. They brought back both of their corners. Like, I understand maybe the front 7 takes a little bit of a hit with losing Hargrave and TJ Edwards. But for the most part, if Nakobe Dean maybe could take that step, or you draft someone in this upcoming class, and the defensive line, although they did lose Hargrave, you still have one of the deeper defensive lines in the NFL. So they're going to have guys, and they're constantly one of the best teams in the trenches on both sides. So I feel very confident in them being able to replace these holes, even though they're some of the better players in the league. It's not like they went out and they lost A.J. Brown or Jalen Hurts is moving or Jordan Mailata is someone that is damn near irreplaceable. These are guys that are really solid players for them, but they'll be able to replace it. But the Cowboys are without a doubt one of the better teams in the NFC. They're in that tier of teams that could reach the Super Bowl just because that's how weak the conference really is.
It is.
I mean, the Cowboys have been a team that if things go right, they can get that far. They've been that way for like 2 years.
Since Dak was the starting quarterback.
Does it bother you at all, Kellen Moore leaving?
No, I think they're going to be better. Honestly, I think they are.
I'm blanking on the top of my head. Who is their offensive coordinator?
McCarthy.
Facts.
Yeah,
No, offensive coordinator. No.
He's going to be their play caller. I don't know who.
I mean, listen, I'm saying 2 years because Dan Quinn, his first season with Dallas, they lost to San Fran in the wild card. Bad matchup. Their run defense was not good. This past season, they shut up that run defense, but you lost to San Fran again because I'm gonna be honest, man. Kellen Moore just is unimpressive.
Stop. Dak wasn't good either which way. Both. You could say both.
David Carr did a film,
I've been defending Dak, so I have to at least acknowledge that.
David Carr did a mini film analysis on what happened in the 49ers game, the playoffs with Dak Prescott. And his conclusion and the plays that he showcased that the offense was super predictable. Mm-hmm. And Dak was not put in a position to succeed. Every play was an offensive play called at the sticks. There was no aggression in the offensive play calling. It was very vanilla, and that's Kellen Moore. I mean, it's the same guy that 2 years ago had 2 offensive linemen run curls. Run. For me, Kellen Moore, hopefully with the Chargers, he turns it around. We'll see what happens. But Dak Prescott's a great quarterback, and if you were making his life harder with better offensive personnel, I doubt that with the Chargers, things are going to magically get fixed. I think that McCarthy is an upgrade over Kellen Moore as a play caller, and I think he's gonna expand the playbook more, and that's why I have more of a belief in the Cowboys. I think Kellen Moore was unimpressive, and Dak Prescott's interceptions and the concepts that they ran didn't help him, and that's basically the crux of what I'm saying. And Kellen Moore, I think, was possibly an addition by subtraction.
I worry just about putting more responsibility on McCarthy's plate, who's had a history of not being the best game manager, timeouts, that type of stuff. The fact that he has to call plays on top of it now isn't.
I mean, he also comes from a great offensive coaching tree.
That's good for him, I guess.
He's old as fuck, dude.
But he knows how to coach offense. That's his bread and butter.
No, we know that he's done that. He had how many seasons out in Green Bay? We know his resume. He comes
from the Mike Holmgren tree. That's one of the.
I'm being honest with you. I don't care.
Me either. It's not the issue of like, can Mike McCarthy coach?
Just look at the game against San Fran, not this past season, the year before that, where they had Dak Prescott scramble for however many yards and they didn't have any timeouts. That's partly on Mike McCarthy as well.
Mike McCarthy, the criticism is in clock management for sure.
That's what I'm alluding to.
Yeah, but in terms of offensive play calling, he's an upgrade over Kellen Moore pretty easily.
I mean, he hasn't called plays in how many years now? 3, 4, 5. Like, bro,
but he's designing the offense with Kellen Moore.
That's great for him. Like, is he going to Nathaniel Hackett also design some of the offense in Green Bay?
Mike McCarthy has more of a track record than
he does,
Hackett.
for sure. No, he does.
Like, for me, I'm pretty
but
sure.
Hackett also was the play caller and the head coach in Denver, and that completely fizzled out.
So what are you trying to say here?
I'm not saying he's going to be a complete dumpster fire like Hackett, but I do think there might be some similarity there. McCarthy has a track record.
Similar to Hackett.
He might have the track record there, the Super Bowl. I get it. But when you have a head coach who has struggled with clock management in his past, now you're bringing on a whole new load of responsibility. He has to call all the offensive plays for a guy who has historically not been great in terms of clock management, which if you want to get to the Super Bowl, you have to be damn near flawless.
Why did you say the similarities with Hackett, though?
Because Hackett was
fired after year one.
Because this is why.
Mike McCarthy came to a Cowboys team and won the division.
Joel, you said you said McCarthy designed the offense with Kellen Moore. Hackett designed the offense with LaFleur. Then he went over to be a head coach and called the plays, and it completely fucked up. We saw week 1, the clock management was some of the worst you've ever seen. Yeah, and McCarthy, we saw on national television, had one of the worst calls ever when Dak went to fucking QB sneak.
Your entire argument falls on deaf ears when Mike McCarthy has called plays previously in his career and is called top 5
And
offenses.
Rodgers
in the
got
NFL.
better when he left.
Aaron Rodgers won 2 MVPs the year after, because his first year with LaFleur, they did not get going.
And then he won 2 MVPs.
Yes, but he won 2 MVPs with McCarthy too.
But they were still, the reason they drafted Jordan Love is because those years they were struggling with it. 1 year was with LaFleur for sure. Or was that the year he came in? I think it might have been the year he came in.
In 2020, his first year with LaFleur, he was not good.
But the reason they drafted Jordan Love was partially due to his struggles with McCarthy and the first year with LaFleur to an extent.
Oh, listen, bro. When you're working with somebody for 10 plus years, like Rodgers was with McCarthy, and to this day, Rodgers and McCarthy have nothing but good things to say to one another. When you've been working that long for somebody, things kind of get stale. And Aaron Rodgers mentioned that, and that's why the LaFleur bringing him in kind of turned things around. But even then, I mean, McCarthy was good in Green Bay. He has a track record of calling plays. He comes from a great offensive coaching tree.
But I don't it's not that he can't call plays or he can't coach. We have a long track record of McCarthy being a head coach, and overwhelmingly, McCarthy has underachieved.
Rodgers was significantly better in 2020 than he was in 2019. But regardless, he threw for 4,026, 4 touchdowns. He was MVP, of course, the years after that, 4,200, basically 4,300, 48 and 5, and then 41, 37 and 4.
Listen, also the year before in 2018, he threw 25 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and people thought he was washed.
I wonder how many games Devontae played in 2019.
All I'm saying is that Mike McCarthy has a track record, and I think he's a better play caller than Kellen Moore, and we're going to see that this year.
Maybe. If anything, I don't think there's going to be a substantial upgrade. The Cowboys had won the bet. I mean, it was a small sample size when the year Dak got hurt. They were the best offense in the league before he went down.
You talking about McCarthy's first year?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
6 games.
I know, small sample size.
2019, Devontae Adams did play only 12 games. So, I mean, they were injured.
Listen, this isn't to say that fucking McCarthy's a worse head coach than Nathaniel Hackett. No. I'm just saying if you want to...
No, but there are no similarities between McCarthy and
you
Hackett.
brought up how McCarthy had a hand in designing the offense just like Hackett did.
No, but that's literally the only thing. That's like saying, the only thing similar about these quarterbacks is they're 6'1".
And the time management.
It's like
time management.
The time management.
Hackett
McCarthy
really was not good.
Yes, but McCarthy is not one of the worst at that. He's average. Hackett was one of the worst at that.
I don't know.
Even when talking about offensive and even when
time management,
and even when talking about offensive play designing, the difference between McCarthy and Hackett is that Hackett won in Green Bay. He helped LaFleur design the offense, but he did not call the plays.
Agreed.
Every other stint, he did not have a top offense. You can say that the quarterback play was not good, okay, but McCarthy comes from an exceptional coaching tree, and he's had success everywhere he's been.
The coaching tree kills me. He's been a head coach for like over
so
10,
many years. It's like you're acting like he's a first-time head coach. Like his coaching tree to this point, it doesn't matter.
That's why I say that doesn't matter.
He's a successful. He's a successful coach.
No, it does matter to the point of the system they're going to run offensively.
But he's been a head coach for so many years that
his coaching tree
that's
doesn't.
The only thing that I only refer to that statement when it comes to like a first, second year coach. Oh, I believe in this guy. Look at where he came from.
And for the most part, like I call him successful because if you stay a head coach or even get a second head coaching job, I think you're a successful coach. And he had some great years in Green Bay, and he's been marginally successful for the Cowboys. But I think of McCarthy not as a guy who's going to, blow the top off this, and the Cowboys are going to look like the Eagles did this past season. McCarthy's a pretty average coach altogether.
He's had 16 years of coaching.
He's a good coach. He's not average. He's a good coach.
I don't know.
He's a good coach.
I don't love McCarthy.
I'm not. Me either. I've never been a huge McCarthy guy,
and I'm not allowing McCarthy to cloud my judgment on the Dallas.
I think more or less to look similar to they did last year.
I don't love Mike McCarthy as a head coach.
You cannot love McCarthy, but he's still a good coach, and he's proven as a head coach.
Let's not get caught up on semantics because we could be here all day. You say he's a good head coach. I can live with that.
I think he's average.
There's better by far.
Yeah.
Like he's not a top 10 coach in my opinion. No way.
He might be borderline hitting that. Like, it's a toss up.
Maybe.
I think since he's been in Dallas, the only year he didn't have success was when Dak went down. Every other year, won a division, second place to the first place Eagles.
That's kind of his history. Like he does basically what he's expected to do. They get to the playoffs, and they get to the playoffs.
I mean, only one team.
Is Jason Garrett a good coach in your opinion?
Jason Garrett? No, he was god-awful.
He made the playoffs consistently.
Yeah, but that's different. Jason Garrett was absolutely abysmal.
I'm not disagreeing.
But
I'm just saying, hey, they won the division. They won not that many playoff games, But regardless, they were constantly making the playoffs.
And those were years where the Giants were terrible. Washington's always been a mess, and it's just Philly.
Yeah, but Jason Garrett was somebody that was limiting them. Mike McCarthy's not limiting them offensively.
I don't think.
We'll see this season.
I would say
Jason Garrett went to the Giants, and I mean, bro, he was third second ranked offense.
Horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, team.
Jason Garrett stayed in Dallas way too long. He had multiple seasons on end.
I want you to understand that I don't think Jason Garrett's a good coach.
The Cowboys were what, a top 10 offense last year?
Well, I'm only saying in terms of situation, Dallas's team is good. It's harder to fail with Dallas's roster than it is to succeed.
It's fact. Even with
that,
do you think
the Niners roster is better this past season? What roster was better, Eagles or Niners? When in compared to the Cowboys, so the Cowboys had the third best roster in the NFC.
Yes.
So they finished. They lost to the team that was better than them.
Like I said, McCarthy basically does what he's expected. He has not really gone above that.
If Dak had an average game, they win. He was really bad. And you could say you blame it on Clem Moore. I don't disagree with you. I think they both were bad in their own right. If Dak just plays average, they win that game.
It's just you look at the routes that all the 49ers jumped.
Not disagreeing.
It has to go back to the scheme and just the predictability of the offense. And that's why I'm not a fan of Kellen Moore.
Dak's got to be a little bit smarter than that too.
And also, you just got to
the timing route. I get it.
How much more can the ceiling be raised on this Cowboys offense? Can
the ceiling is always a Super Bowl team when you're the Dallas Cowboys. That's always their ceiling.
Well, listen, the ceiling has been raised because now they have a separator, and they're not gonna. Dak's not gonna throw as much tight window throws as he did last season.
I think it's going to come down to you have two teams that I still think are better than you. McCarthy would have to go above expectations to reach the Super Bowl. He doesn't do that historically, though, bro. But I still look at the Niners and the Eagles pretty comfortably better than them.
Even if you think
pretty comfortably,
no,
I
do.
There was a game. There's a game difference between the Eagles and the Cowboys last season.
Yeah, I know the Eagles started to teeter towards the end of the season.
Wait, Drew, am I wrong for saying that even if you want to think the Eagles and Niners are better teams, the gap has been closed? In terms of what they were last season.
It is closer, but I still feel more confident in Jalen Hurts and Kyle Shanahan. Just those offenses I have more faith in.
Offensively, I understand. Right now what the Eagles have, talent-wise,
so Nick Sirianni, so you have no questions about them losing Shane Steichen. You have no questions about Nick Sirianni.
Not how dominant that run game was.
Sirianni's firm.
I like Sirianni too.
It's a really good coach. I would take Sirianni over McCarthy.
We can't say after 2 years that Sirianni is just like, he clears him.
I don't know.
He does not.
They have definitely turned things around a lot faster than expectation. You were on it last season. I know. You said that they were going to be a lot better than what people expected. They were a playoff team.
It took
this
Nick
year.
Sirianni.
He was Coach of the Year candidate for basically the entire season until obviously Dable took that position. But the Eagles were amazing all season long. The offense was amazing. Yes, Jalen Hurts' ascension was a big part of that, but Nick Sirianni's calling the plays. He's making things happen with this offense. You got to give him credit.
It took Nick Sirianni in his first season as a coach a while to adjust to the running game, a while to really lean into it. It took him about like 6-7 weeks.
That's not that many, especially
that's almost half the season.
That's not that bad, especially to make the playoffs. That's fine.
I mean, listen, I'm just saying, Nick Sirianni, we cannot just stamp him and say, yes, like it's over. I think Nick Sirianni.
It's a Super Bowl in year 3.
In terms of
year 2, year 3? I think it is. Off the top of my head, I'm blanking. Sirianni, year 2. This is going to go into year 3.
3, yeah.
To make it to a Super Bowl in year 2 is impressive as sin. Yes, this roster was crazy. Yes, the GM has done an unbelievable job of organizing this roster, but regardless, you have to execute, and he has.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy won Super Bowl in year 5.
No, that's been back since.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go back.
It's the best quarterback in the league. I'm the best quarterback in the league for every season after that.
He became stagnant after a while.
Yeah, but
he did.
I think
that defense was the best that they had, and that's one of the main reasons they won.
But the bigger problem with the Packers were that they never spent to improve the defense. The offense was never the problem. The Packers went 15-1 and lost in the playoffs because their defense sucked. And that's because ownership never was aggressive to get defensive pieces.
I agree.
All I'm saying is that McCarthy has proven his side of the ball.
He was also in one of the worst divisions of football with the Bears, who were a joke forever, the Lions, who did nothing forever, and the Vikings, who for the most part were irrelevant.
The Vikings always win. They're not contenders, but they are competitive,
I guess. But again, there's no one like the Eagles like they have now.
You could say the same thing for the NFCs, bro.
What do you mean?
The Cowboys haven't been to the NFC Championship in 20 plus years?
No, I'm just saying the level of competition in his own division is higher than it was when he was in Green Bay.
Yeah, I guess so, but he showed he
I don't
can win
think
the
it's I
division.
guess so. It's
They
pretty
won the
comfortable.
division last year.
But this version of Jalen Hurts a little different.
Okay, we'll see this year. You know that an NFC East team has never won back to back in how many years?
Listen, the Cowboys.
That means the Eagles will not win a division.
The Cowboys could still win the division. I'm still taking the Eagles.
The Eagles are not. The Eagles are not winning the NFC East, bro.
Okay.
They're not winning. I don't. How long has it been since the team has won the NFC East 2 years in a row?
I don't think it's crazy.
But we can.
I'm taking the Cowboys comfortably over the Eagles. It's not even a question. It's not even a question.
He said the same. He said the Cowboys were going to the Super Bowl. It wasn't even a question. Not the best track record with the Cowboys, I guess.
Didn't you think that the Eagles roster cleared the Chiefs, and then the Chiefs ended up whooping that ass in the Super Bowl, right?
They won by 8 points.
Oh yeah. Shut your mouth. Yeah, we're talking.
Let's
talk. Yeah.
Was it 3?
Yeah, we're talking about
field goal.
Oh right, my bad.
Yeah, Chiefs, baby, Chiefs, comfortable.
It's like your 6th quarterback you're riding.
Let's get out of here, man. The Cowboys are going to win the NFCs comfortably.
Cool.
Comfortably.
It's just like Matt Ryan all over again.
It's not Matt Ryan. We have Dak Prescott. He's not washed.
I think the Cowboys without doubt have a better chance than whatever the fucking Colts take was last year. Like I said, the Cowboys could win this division. It wouldn't shock me.
I will say this. You're saying comfortably. Let's acknowledge that the Eagles are different. They're not this regular team.
Let's acknowledge the Cowboys are different. They have Michael Parsons. Better than any defensive player.
I'll be honest.
The
Cowboys could go on the same run the Eagles did in the regular season this past year.
Gilmore,
and I would still
count
them out because the Cowboys just choke in the playoffs. That's what they do, man.
Better.
Marginally.
They cleared them.
Stop. All right, now you're
Trayvon Diggs just led the league in interception not long ago. Stephon Gilmore revived his career this past season. He's a DPOY player, 2018. What are we talking about?
2018.
What do you mean? He had a great season this past season.
That's 5 years ago.
Defensive line. Listen, you can have the depth on the Eagles. The Cowboys got the stars. DeMarcus Lawrence, Mike Parsons, they got the stars.
We see Michael Parsons taken out of games
by the Eagles.
They just run the opposite direction, but he's not taken out of games. He's always a
listen. The Cowboys might win the division. They could have the best record in the NFC. Come playoff time, the Cowboys in the playoffs with Mike McCarthy. I'll take the historical chances over the last 20 years.
That's a reality.
Oh yeah, the Eagles have shown me that year after year they can just win in the playoffs.
They've been to the Super Bowl twice in the last 7-8 years.
Nick Sirianni's regime, what has he done? Jalen Hurts, what has he done?
They went to the Super Bowl
and they
last
fucking
year.
lost. And they fucking lost.
The Cowboys.
You just called the Bengals a fluke last year. You called the Bengals a fluke last year.
When's the last time the Cowboys won the Super Bowl?
Huh?
When's the last time the Cowboys won the Super Bowl?
I'm not sure, but you just called the Bengals.
90s.
The Bengals. So it's crazy. The Bengals made the Super Bowl last year. You called them a fluke. The Eagles. Oh, there's no fluke here.
Are you calling
the Bengals?
I don't think you're calling the Eagles
path was harder in the AFC last year than the Eagles path.
I don't think you're calling the Eagles a fluke though.
I'm not. Yeah. But where was this energy? How come you have no energy like this for the Eagles?
I'm not sure.
Come on, dude. There's no correlation.
There's correlation.
No, there isn't.
Because the Bengals had a tougher path, and he called them flukes.
But the Bengals team is not nearly as good as the Eagles.
But they got a Joe Burrow at quarterback and Jamar Chase.
That's fine. Hey, listen, I can acknowledge that he was wrong.
Defense.
And your boy Joe Burrow lost too.
But he's better than Jalen Hurts.
I can acknowledge that he was wrong, but I can also acknowledge that the Eagles team, on paper, and just with my own eyes, are simply better.
All I'm saying is that the Eagles have not proven nothing on a year-to-year out basis.
They won the Super Bowl in 2018. 2019, Carson Wentz has a Superman year, brings them to the playoffs. They were not that great in 2020, but made the playoffs in 2021 and just went to the Super Bowl in 2022.
They lost.
Yeah. I'm just saying. What do you mean they haven't proven anything? Essentially, this is the Eagles' division. Yeah. Let's be real.
If it wasn't for Nick Foles having an out-of-body experience, they don't win shit.
I mean, if that's what we're gonna
I don't like that
it's a
Nick
weird
Foles,
thing to push.
When he's in Philadelphia, has been proven to be great.
All I'm saying is that the Eagles have not proven year in and year out that they
Since
can.
2018, this has been their division.
No, it hasn't.
They've done more in this division than any other team since 2018. That's a fact.
In terms of winning division.
In terms of who
them and the Cowboys have been right up there.
When you look at the NFC East, the first team that you should think of that deserves the respect more than any other team is Philadelphia, because they've had the most playoff success and they've won the division more times than anyone.
So you're telling me the Eagles will win the division then this upcoming season?
That's not what I'm saying, but you're scoffing at that idea.
Because it's not going to happen. History shows it's not going to happen.
History shows the Cowboys don't do shit in the playoffs. Don't go to the Super Bowl.
Okay, we're talking about winning the division.
Okay, you said they're going to the Super Bowl.
Stay on top.
No. Let's stay on top.
I did it.
Yes, you did.
I just said they're the best team in the NFC right now. I never said they're going to the Super Bowl. I said they're the best team in the NFC right now.
No one's won back-to-back divisions in the NFC East.
It's in a minute.
No, wait. I'm really confused though. I thought in 2018 they won the Super Bowl, correct?
They did.
And then in 2019
they were second in 2018.
Really? And they won the Super Bowl?
Yep. 2018, the Cowboys won one more game, went 10-6. Eagles were 9-7.
In 29. What was the season that they were amazing then?
That was
They were the 1 seed that they.
That was 2017. 2017, they won the Super Bowl.
The last time it's happened was 2004.
But let's be honest. There's two teams that can win this division. With all due respect to the Giants,
my statement's wrong then, because since 2017, then let's go even back a year further. That's been their division.
Yeah.
Respect Brandin Cooks, because you obviously lack respect for him.
I respect Brandin Cooks.
And you lack respect for the Cowboys.
This pisses me off because I was on his side.
And then he's like, clearly the better team.
Like, why do
and what could happen is like they could beat the Eagles by like 3 week 1. He's gonna come here. I told you, Dehls, the Cowboys clear those frauds.
Well, that's what's gonna happen. I was right about a lot of stuff. That's nothing. I'm right. I'm gonna just check it.
You're wrong about Jalen Hurts.
You're not an NFC guy.
About Hurts.
Stick to the AFC.
AFC.
Stick to the AFC. That's your.
I'm a
that's
both
your
divisions
conference.
guy.
Okay.
I'm a both.
All
guy.
his quarterbacks on the fucking AFC.
I don't know, bro.
Stick there. That's fucking guy.
Now listen, another thing that you were very disrespectful about, Dehls, that rubbed me the wrong way earlier today.
I'll show you, Robin.
The Jets traded Elijah Moore to the Cleveland Browns, and they traded Elijah Moore and pick 74 for pick 42.
Yes.
And for some reason, you're down about this, Dehls.
I am.
The Jets traded a locker room cancer, a diva wide receiver that production did not match, to move up 30 spots in the draft. That's worth it for me. We can replace this guy easily with a Josh Downs in the draft. Jalen Hi-Hat, come to New York. We can replace him. But guess what? This is more important.
What's that?
Connor Hughes said that OBJ wants to play with Rodgers. We know Rodgers has said he wants to be a Jet. Moving Elijah Moore was just freeing up a space for OBJ.
Is that what this was?
And if we get OBJ, Elijah Moore, goodbye. I mean, this guy's all talk, no production. He has not produced. You mentioned it earlier in the season when the Jets started off 5-2 and he requested a trade. You did not like it. I was fine with it because Mike LaFleur was a horrible play caller, in my opinion. And I thought, well, he did ruin Zach Wilson. Well, Zach Wilson's we know he's going to bounce back.
No. All right, no.
That's what we're opening.
No, that's not what I don't have an issue with this, because now this is so bizarre to me, because I didn't have an issue with this maybe 2 hours ago, but now I have an issue.
Okay.
Because you didn't have a problem with Elijah Moore requesting a trade then, but now suddenly Elijah Moore's this fraud. He's a bum. You're happy he's off your team.
I never said he's a bum.
I
never said that.
Produce.
He hasn't produced. The way he talks, he has not produced.
But
he has not produced.
But I don't understand now. Where's this sudden disdain for Elijah
Moore? My
Moore?
disdain for Elijah Moore comes from not only did he request a trade, which was I defended Elijah Moore for requesting that trade.
Why I'm here baffled.
But this is the thing. As the season progressed, he yelled at coaches. They were not going to honor his trade request regardless. And what did he do? He came back to the Jets and he didn't work his ass off. On plays, he gave up on blocks. He didn't block his assignment. There was a reason why Denzel Mims was playing over this guy, because he was not doing his assignment. He was not. He's not a good enough player to take plays off. That's what I'm saying. And he took plays off for the Jets. And I'm going to go back to the saying that I see across Jets Twitter. If you don't want to be a Jet, then who cares? You're gone. He doesn't want to take pride in wearing that green and white. Then get out of here. Skedaddle. I don't want you on my team, because we're getting Odell Beckham Jr. We're getting Aaron Rodgers, who wants to wear that green. We got Garrett Wilson, who likes to wear that green. We got Sauce Gardner, who's branded his entire YouTube channel around green and sauce. They want to be Jets. Elijah Moore didn't want to be a Jet. He wanted to get his stats. And if you want to get paid, do you. But he's always been a me guy. He's always been a me guy. He's never been a team dude. He's never been it. So listen, if now the Browns
always kills me.
The Browns now just, I feel like
in absolutes.
It's been like 4 years now. 3 of the last 4 years, the Browns have won the offseason. And I'm going to sit here and say they've made some goddamn good moves.
It's been so good.
Juan Thornhill, Dalvin Tomlinson, Okoro Okoronkwo, now getting Elijah Moore. Now, listen, I understand where some people can say that now, the Browns are going to be amazing. You have Amari Cooper, Peoples-Jones, Njoku, Elijah Moore. The running game's going to be there. Deshaun Watson was horrible this past season, man. 31st in EPA per play, 30th in success rate, 32nd in completion over expectation. He did face tougher defenses. I'll give him that. But, man, if Deshaun Watson doesn't go back to being an elite quarterback, this is going to be horrible. He cannot just be good. He has to be elite.
Are you out on Deshaun?
I'm out on Deshaun.
Ooh.
And you know what? Baker Mayfield's making the playoffs before the Browns, and before
how much you want to put on that?
Baker Mayfield's making the playoffs with the Bucks before Deshaun Watson makes it with the Browns.
He almost baited me.
NFC,
He almost baited me.
yeah.
I'll give it
Do
to
it.
him.
You got the Saints in the NFC South.
We
with
don't
Derek
even
Carr.
know if he's gonna beat out Kyle Trask for the job.
How much he will beat out Kyle Trask?
Yeah, you better
Because Baker Mayfield,
he doesn't beat out Kyle Trask. His time might be over.
Chatting, he better fucking.
See, I wouldn't rule out having Jacoby Brissett have a better season than Deshaun.
I'll be honest, Falcons are one of those teams to look out for.
Eric Bieniemy, Jacoby, the weapons Washington has.
I'm bugging. What am I thinking about?
I mean, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Eric Bieniemy calling plays. Jacoby's going to beat out Sam Howell, in my opinion. We'll see what happens, but he will beat him out. And Jacoby, I like Jacoby a lot, man. I like Jacoby.
Better than Deshaun?
He's not better than Deshaun, but he played better than him this past season for sure.
All right. Talk about Elijah Moore. I'm sorry, Joel. I know that we're talking about your Jets, but I just want to get my words off a little bit. I'm not pleased if I'm the Jets for doing this. I will say, for both sides, though, in terms of organization, this is a firm deal. You got a second-round pick for Elijah Moore, who really has not proven all too much.
Give a third in the process.
I believe, a third, too, is not ideal.
Second-round pick, though, that's huge.
Very limited draft capital.
It is. It
like
is.
6 picks.
But I'll say this. If it frees up the cap space in order for you to bring in an Odell, this makes Aaron Rodgers a little bit happier. Then sure, this move is sound with me, and you get pretty decent draft capital for this. One thing I will say is, you guys better get Aaron Rodgers. You better get Aaron Rodgers, because then a lot of this chatter, a lot of this noise is for nothing. And I'm not saying that I'm rooting against you guys to get Aaron Rodgers, but really, we're talking like things, we want to talk about absolutes. We're talking like it's an absolute fact that Aaron Rodgers is going to the Jets. Right now, there's so much up in the air right now with the discussions and what's the proper trade package for an Aaron Rodgers right now, who's saying, if you're not trading me to the Jets, I'm retiring. So essentially, Green Bay has minimal leverage, but they still believe since they have Aaron Rodgers, they have all this leverage because he obviously is worth two first-round picks. But Aaron Rodgers going on Pat McAfee's show kind of has handcuffed the Green Bay Packers in what they could potentially get in an Aaron Rodgers trade. But if they don't get Aaron Rodgers, then a lot of this stuff is for nothing. And we're back to square one of who's going to be your quarterback. And if it's Zach Wilson next season, then I'm sorry, but
won't be
throw all this chatter away. Throw all this chatter away, because I promise you, Odell's not coming to town. You're going to have to deal with, of course, Garrett Wilson being a superstar, and that's happy. I'm happy with that. And Breece Hall, of course, has all the upside in the world as well, but I don't love your receivers. Allen Lazard, to me, is a decent wide receiver 2. I'd say low-end wide receiver 2. Corey Davis is not going to be back on the team, most likely. McCole Hardman was a cute signing, but that's if Aaron Rodgers is a New York Jet.
He's a Berrios replacement.
I'm interested. I'm intrigued if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. If Zach Wilson's a quarterback, then McCole is just another signing.
But Aaron Rodgers will be our quarterback.
Bro. Yeah, it's a long shot. Zach Wilson will be a starter week 1.
Of course. I'm just saying. I'm talking as we stand right now, because right now Aaron Rodgers intends to play with the Jets. But until that is finalized, I'm not going to sit here and say like it's signed, sealed, and delivered. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm just trying to remain realistic. Even keel. Exactly.
Yeah, I hear you.
But in terms of Cleveland Browns, we're going to talk about Cleveland in a little bit. At least I am. But I love this move. I really do. You add another weapon to this core. I like Donovan Peoples-Jones's upside, no doubt. But now you add a little bit more depth at the wide receiver position. That's always a positive. You want to give Deshaun the most comfort in the pocket with weapons that he can trust. And I want this to still remain a Nick Chubb-oriented offense. Of course, it's not going to be, because Deshaun Watson's your quarterback, but I mean that in the sense of Nick Chubb needs to be an integral part of what you're going to do offensively. He is too good to leave him out there where he is not getting as many carries as he should, because he showed last season when he got that workload, he can make things happen. And the Browns had continued success. Of course, it's going to be Deshaun-oriented. It needs to be with the money that he's making. You're right. Deshaun has to be great. He can't be good. He has to be great. I believe he will be great. He missed a year. He comes back, misses almost the entirety of the year, plays around 5 games. He was rusty. It was evident. He showed flashes, but for more often than not, he did not look his normal self. But bringing in Elijah Moore to this group that's already pretty solid, in my opinion, I love the move for the Browns.
And for the Browns, who have very limited draft capital, the fact that you're able to get a 3rd-round pick back, you move back 30, 40 slots, was it? So I think the fact that you get Elijah Moore, the wide receiver, is great, but you also still keep some sort of draft capital, even though it is back the third round. For the Jets, first of all, I think Aaron Rodgers will be the quarterback. I find it very hard to believe that this wouldn't happen. And there's been a lot of talk on Jets Twitter. You see Connor Hughes talking about all the time, Zach Rosenblatt, about which team has more leverage. And I'm with them. Neither team has leverage in this situation, right? The Packers' only option is to trade him to the Jets. The Jets' really only option is to get Aaron Rodgers. If plan B is fucking Ryan Tannehill, where we have a lot of problems, right? And Lamar seems like an outside shot at this point. So I don't think either team really has any leverage here. They're just standing off. Is one team going to budge first? And I was telling Drew on the way here, next week is the owner meetings. So Woody Johnson, Joe Douglas, the Packers front office, they're all going to be together in person. I have some hope there that things will get resolved. If not, it feels very unlikely that this goes past the NFL draft. The Packers are going to want to bring in guys to help this year. I know they might think we could contend, this roster is good, but why would you wait an extra month or two if you're going to trade Rodgers regardless and not just get picks in the 2023 draft that could help you this year? So I think the absolute latest this goes is the draft day. To keep me even as early as next week if Woody Johnson's able just to get this past the finish line. But to talk about Elijah Moore, I know, earlier in the year when he requested the trade, I wasn't a fan of it because we were winning. And I still believe that. Listen, if you don't want to be on the Jets, I get it. It's fine. He wanted to go put up numbers. He wants the targets, which I understand he's a young player still trying to prove himself. But the Jets right now, as Drew alluded to, the wide receiver core without Odell Beckham, when you just have Garrett Wilson and Lazard and McCole Hardman and Denzel Mims as your wide receiver 4 right now, it's a bit underwhelming. Right, you do have Garrett, who could be a top 10 receiver this year. He was just 15th in receiving yards last season, put up 1,100 yards or whatever it was with terrible quarterback play. But you do have some guys that you look around and say they could play some roles, right? Lazard is a great run blocker. He's a big body. McCole is your deep threat. But it does feel like they're missing that, what I said on my Twitter, like an above average guy at wide receiver 2. And I thought that's what Elijah Moore could be. Right, he doesn't really excel in anything. If anything, it's probably route running, being able to beat one-on-one coverage, even though he was pretty good against man and zone last season, according to Matt Harmon's receptions perception. But overall, he's felt like the guy that could come in and put up 1,000-yard season with Garrett Wilson if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. Without it, when Allen Lazard is wide receiver 2, when you have someone as good as Aaron Rodgers, he can mask some things. But it does feel like just a minor step back over what this offense could have been with a guy who still has a lot of untapped potential in Elijah Moore. Now he's going to the Browns, who Donovan Peoples-Jones is there, but I don't think he solidifies wide receiver 2. Elijah Moore could go in and command the second most targets on this team. And Deshaun Watson, who had a down season, obviously only playing a handful of games, he still has all the talent in the world to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So I'm not going to take this small 5-6 game sample size if he didn't play for a year and a half and say he's done, washed, he's never going to be able to do it again. But I think Elijah Moore is going to have success in Cleveland. I'm an Elijah Moore fan. I was upset when he wanted to get traded because we saw that rookie year when Zach Wilson got hurt and we had a couple games like Josh Johnson, that Colts game. We had Flacco. Like Elijah Moore went out a run where he was like 100 yards, 80 yards, 60 yards, and he was just putting up some crazy numbers. His rookie season. Too. Yeah. Okay. He's whatever. But Elijah Moore
Tony had a moment.
A very small moment.
Better than Elijah Moore.
But I thought Elijah Moore showed more consistency throughout these 2 years than Kadarius Toney has ever had.
It was close. Kadarius, he looked.
That game against the Dolphins, the Cowboys, Elijah was crazy.
The Cowboys game where he put up almost 200 yards was like half his production his whole career.
That was the moment.
His moment is better. You're not raving about Kadarius Toney here.
He had weeks.
Yeah, no, Elijah did.
I can look it up.
So I think the Jets, Odell does seem like someone that's a very strong possibility at this point. I think that's the perfect fit. He doesn't have to come and be the wide receiver 1. He could come in and be exactly what he was on LA. You have Cooper Kupp there, who obviously better than Garrett Wilson, but you have the wide receiver 1, and you have Odell, who's going to get secondary coverage. Obviously secondary, but not primary, the primary corner on him. He'll be able to eat it up. And then once you have Lazard and McCole as your 3 and 4, you feel more comfortable there.
He went 6 for 67 against Cincinnati. This started around week 6. So then against Indianapolis,
that was a big game.
He had 7 receptions, 84 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then he had 3 receptions for 44 yards and a touchdown. Then against Miami, 8 receptions, 11 targets, 141 yards and a touchdown. Then he goes 4 for 46, no touchdowns against Houston, but you guys won. And then he goes 6 receptions for 12 targets, 77 yards and a touchdown. Then he gets hurt.
How many 100-yard games?
1.
I mean, Tony had 420 yards his rookie year, and he had 180 in one game.
I mean, he only had 1.
It's amazing. 189 is a lot.
Listen, Elijah Moore, he's not unreplaceable. Don't get me wrong.
He had 1, 2, 3, 4,
He's a good
5
player.
touchdowns in 6 weeks. 5 weeks, excuse me. It's great.
And Tony had 170 yards this season. Don't come on, bro.
He's injured.
And he had a
He's
touchdown. in the
always
Super Bowl,
injured.
bro. Come on, bro. Put some respect on Tony's name, bro.
My fault.
He did have a kick return touchdown. He had a punt return touchdown. He sealed the Super Bowl for the Chiefs. Is Elijah Moore doing that? No, he's not. Now listen, Dehls, I know that you may not understand where I'm coming from because, listen, man, when it comes to the Jets, I want players to be all in or all out. Never seen any of us once give up on the Jets. They're bad or they're good. We stay fans of the Jets. And Elijah Moore just didn't ride with the Jets the entire time.
Is he dead ass?
I'm not acknowledging. You know,
he was done with the Jets after they benched Zach.
I've realized a part of this show that I'm sure fans miss is me spazzing on some shit like this with Joel. But I feel, as a human being, you have to grow.
You do.
And when he says some shit like this,
utter lies.
Old me would get angry. I'm just like, all right, this is Joel. I'm allowed the fans.
He's just gonna lie to people.
I never once gave up on the Jets.
You said you were done with the Jets when Zach Wilson got benched.
He said he's a Zach Wilson fan, not a Jets fan.
Okay.
No, I said, quote unquote, it's the New York Jets, not the New York Zach Wilsons. That's what I said, quote for
sick,
quote.
Man.
That's what I said, bar for bar. You could go back to the clips.
You said you're ready to be a Chiefs fan because you're tired of not having a franchise quarterback.
I root for them for sure. I do. Bengals, Chiefs, had it on my body.
So gross.
Along with the Jets, I root for them all day long.
3 AFC teams.
Yeah, no doubt.
No
doubt. I've been a Chiefs.
And the 2 are rivals.
Yeah. I've been a Chiefs and Bengals fan since I was a child.
Okay, right. Your dad.
That we just found out about it this year.
Yeah. It's funny how that works.
Because even last year when the Bengals were doing their thing, he never mentioned that once.
No.
Man, I was a big Bengals agenda pusher though.
Yeah, but it was never like, oh, my dad liked it when I was a kid.
I was always a Bengals fan though. Right, always root for the Bengals. What you know about Andy Dalton? What you know about Carson Palmer?
You know so much more.
What you know about
Bengals fans since day one? You were watching TJ Houston battle highlights when I walked in here.
What you know about that? What you know about Joe Montana with the Chiefs? What you know about that? You don't know nothing.
Nothing. No.
Because I've been there. Nice. I've been there, Dehls.
You were there
for sure.
I've seen it. I remember that.
Live.
I remember that.
I saw it.
Remember that.
Come on.
You're a big Ocho Cinco fan.
So do you think that Elijah Moore cracks 1,000?
He could. It's possible.
No, he can't.
No. With Deshaun, he definitely can.
Chance.
He without a doubt can.
He has no chance to do it. There's no chance.
No chance. It's just straight up rude, I'll be honest.
Jalen Green has 16 first half points.
Oh, you hate to see that.
You thought Gabriel Davis had no chance to crack 1,000. So why is it crazy for me to say Elijah Moore doesn't have a chance?
Well, did he get 1,000?
Gabe Davis didn't, but he's going to be close. He was closer
because Elijah Moore's been playing with the worst quarterback playing in the NFL, and Gabe Davis playing with Josh Allen.
You disrespected Gabe Davis.
You did.
He's mid,
and Elijah Moore's not.
He's better than Gabe Davis.
So for debate,
it's not.
You may have missed it. Now, in this topic, I don't know what you guys are gonna say.
I know what I'm gonna say.
I know what I'm gonna say.
I know what I'm gonna say.
Good for you. Good job.
When I think about things that the audience may have missed, I like to think of things that are topic worthy that we missed. There's nobody more topic worthy than Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield did not get a dedicated segment on this show, disrespectfully.
All due respect.
No one wanted to talk about that bum.
The Bucs signed Baker Mayfield 1 year, $4 million. He wanted to go to a place where he can compete and he could be a starter. And the Bucs was the perfect spot for that. I know people think about the Bucs and they look at their offense and it was bad last year.
Offensive line's not good still.
Byron Leftwich was calling plays. Byron Leftwich has now been fired. Dave Canellis is now the OC. Dave Canellis has been in Seattle working as a quarterbacks coach for a while now. He was a big reason that Geno Smith won Comeback Player of the Year. And as an offensive coordinator, he said, it's not about establishing a run, which to me, it resembles a coach that is innovative, but it's about establishing an attacking offense. One thing Baker said about Dave Canellis is that Dave Canellis plays to the strengths of his players, plays to the strengths of their attributes. Baker went to Carolina. I was optimistic about that move.
Say better than Hurts.
I ignored, and you said Kyle is better than Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, that's not as crazy.
You were very wrong on that, though.
You said
at least Baker won a playoff game.
Baker's a backup.
At least Baker won a playoff game.
Baker's a backup.
He's going to start.
Now.
So is he a backup? He's about to start.
He's going to be.
He's about to start.
He's going to teeter between backup bridge quarterback for the rest of his career.
He's about to start though.
Jalen Hurts is a superstar.
He's about to start. Oh, okay. That's what I thought. You thought Kyle's
Jalen
better
Hurts
than
is a superstar.
You thought Kyle's better than Trevor
Jalen
Lawrence.
Hurts is a superstar.
You ain't think Trevor Lawrence is going to be top 10.
Jalen
And
Hurts
he
is a
proved you very
superstar.
wrong.
Joel, what's the worst opinion to say that Kyler Murray is going to be better than Trevor Lawrence or is better than Trevor Lawrence, or that Baker Mayfield would be better than Jalen Hurts?
No, I think the worst opinion is saying that the Jets won't finish 0-6 in the year. I think that's the worst opinion.
What about Zach Wilson being better than Trevor Lawrence?
And Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Hey, you had a lot of Zach Wilson over guys
I
too.
did.
Don't
get me wrong.
Let's not get lost.
You were the captain of the ship, my brother.
I was the captain of the ship, but you were sinking right next to me.
I got off.
You tried to get a life jacket.
I jumped off. I got a life jacket. I jumped off to the lifeboat. I was there. I see the boat falling. I'm reaching for Joel. I said, Joel, get in the lifeboat. He's just going down, sinking. I saw him drown.
And don't worry, I saw you drown with the 0-6 take as well. I was not on your side with that.
I'm a Jets fan. You're not. We just had this argument.
So saying you're a Jets fan is being delusional about not finish out the season poorly?
I believe in my team.
I think being a smart Jets fan is knowing that we've seen this history before.
Or was it that Zach Wilson was no longer the quarterback and you were done with the team?
No, it was the fact that
little both.
It was the fact that
that's why I thought we weren't going 0-6.
It was the fact that Mike White, such a significant upgrade, which he wasn't.
He's better.
Which he wasn't.
He's pretty clearly better.
Which he wasn't.
Mike White had a larger market this offseason than Zach Wilson.
Huh?
Most likely.
How does that even make sense?
I don't think any
team wanted to trade for Zach Wilson.
There are multiple teams.
How do we know that any team is trying to trade for Zach Wilson?
Because I feel like he would have been traded already.
Probably. I don't think so.
You see all this shit. Every one of the Jets are pushing for Rodgers. That's not a good look for Zach. I'm sure if there was a third or fourth round pick out there, but still, you have this young quarterback you're trying to develop. It's
Aaron Rodgers.
Ideal.
I mean, Mike White was a free agent. Zach Wilson was not a free agent.
I wish the Jets could have his contract.
I mean, you can. It doesn't matter. But all I'm saying is that you look at Baker Mayfield and Dave Canellis. I think Dave Canellis is going to be one of the upcoming offense coaches in this league. I think he's going to be that good. I love his mindset. I think Baker Mayfield now getting signed to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there has to be an incentive in this contract that you have to at least get Mike Evans 1,000 yards. No way can we let that record tarnish. He's had it for 9 straight years. Unless Mike Evans gets injured. That's the only plausible excuse. But if Baker does not get Mike Evans 1,000 yards, I will officially be done with Baker. But this is a great situation. I understand the offensive line is not the best, although they do have pillars with Jensen and Wirfs. They have to fill up some holes for sure. You like the receiving game. Mm-hmm. The running game can be upgraded for sure. But ultimately, I look at the Buccaneers with Baker and with the moves that they've made this offseason, re-signing Jamel Dean and Levante David. I think that the Buccaneers still want to compete, and Baker Mayfield wanted to go to a team that was competitive. Carolina was a dumpster fire. It's as simple as that, especially with Matt Rule. Matt Rule, the team did not listen to him, did not embrace him. It wasn't until Steve Wilkes came in, and now they started being more run-oriented. But Baker went to a situation where that was the only team that was trying to trade for him. But it wasn't a great situation. I think the Bucs are a good situation for them. They can win the division if everything goes right. NFC South, the Saints are still there. The Panthers, depending on the moves they make. The Falcons, you can never count them out with how great Arthur Smith is as an offensive coordinator. But this is a potential career revival landing spot for Baker.
Can I ask you a question? Is it a great situation for Baker, or is it a great situation in general?
It's a great situation in general.
I beg to differ. Tom Brady was there and did not look great.
Byron Leftwich was calling plays. He's not going to be there no more. Last year, teams in terms of their offensive...
We're going to blame all of it on Byron Leftwich?
Most of it was. I mean, yeah.
Even though the offensive line was not good.
Yeah, but Byron Leftwich...
The year before, Leftwich was wanting to be head coach. He was head coaching candidate.
No doubt.
Yeah, I mean, that's how quickly things change in the NFL. Kellen Moore was a head coaching candidate, and he went to the Chargers to try to revive his reputation.
He got a job immediately.
Yeah, he did. But still, he's not a head coaching candidate. You can go from that quickly because some things get masked. But when talking about that, Byron Leftwich last year, if you look at a chart that PFF has in terms of perfectly covered plays,
chart.
The Bucs, it's a great chart. It's honestly an amazing chart that they have. The Bucs were one of the worst teams in the league at that, which means that Byron Leftwich did not call plays that were open. There's a reason why Tom Brady had a bad year for him. The fact that Dave Canellis is here, even though he's an unproven OC, Listen, he could be bad, but he could also be great. He could also be a diamond in the rough. Nobody knew about Ben Johnson before this past season. Nobody thought Jared Goff was going to have this type of season. It was because of Ben Johnson coming in. The fact that if Byron Leftwich was still here and he's the one calling plays, then 100%, I don't like the situation. But the fact that it's somebody new calling plays, yeah, I don't feel the same as I would of them last year.
You may have missed it, is going to be about Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is having knee surgery. Thankfully, he will be ready for the preseason. He will be ready for opening day. But it really goes to show you all the stuff that Russell Wilson had to go through this season. Had a shoulder injury prior to the season, had to get an injection on that. He had a hamstring injury this season that forced him to miss a game. Then he also had a concussion, and that forced him to miss a game as well. Now we find out that he had a knee injury, and obviously he had to get that cleaned up, but maybe there's a lot more that he had to overcome than just Nathaniel Hackett, of course. And, of course, he did not play up to Russell Wilson's standards, but there was a lot against Russell Wilson. So, of course, I wanted to take this time to send my prayers, my love to Russell Wilson. I hope that he has a speedy recovery because he's going to kill it this season. It's going to be one of the greatest comeback stories we'll ever see.
My guy, man. My favorite quarterback.
He also was pressured on
you.
He also was pressured on 29% of his dropbacks, the most by any quarterback in the NFL.
And he also was the quarterback of a team that had one of the highest drop percentages in the National Football League.
Throw a better ball. They'll catch it.
I didn't realize how mid Baker was last year.
No, he was poopy.
He had the good game against Denver, actually. He was really solid. Yep. And that Vegas game was really that last drive. But other than that, it was a pretty ugly season.
He ate against us. He was the NFL, right?
Was he?
The Nickelodeon.
Oh, yeah.
What NFL? I'm crying.
Yeah.
The MVP.
Yes.
Even that, though, I think you look at Baker Mayfield and you look at the Rams situation, Matthew Stafford was horrible in it when he was healthy.
At least he has Sean McVay. That helps. He doesn't have Sean McVay in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, but also the Rams, who was the wide receiver with Baker? The best wide receiver?
Allen Robinson.
Wasn't pretty. Wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
Well, you just said you'll take the coach over the weapons.
When did I say that?
The Panthers.
Well,
or so you said offensive
if they're close, yeah. If they're close. Not if, the Rams have offensive line stinks. Everything about them stinks.
Baker's going to be average at best. But this week, or excuse me, you may have missed it. Not NFL, NBA, and the Boston Celtics. Oh my God. It wasn't too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, that I was on here and Joel, his typical anti-Boston agenda, saying how, I don't have any agenda. I'm not a hater. I just spit the facts. And he takes these incredibly small sample sizes and tries to spew them in a different way. And there's been, I think, 5 teams so far in the East that have going to beat the Celtics. But since March 6th, Celtics lost 3 in a row. Celtics are 5-2, second most wins in the NBA. 121 offensive rating, second in the NBA, 112 defensive rating, ninth in the NBA, and a net rating of nearly 10, which is second in the NBA. Last night against the Kings, Robert Williams made his return. We look like a completely different team. Jason Tatum was back looking like Jason Tatum. He was fucking efficient for like the second time the entire All-Star break. It's like the Cavs game, and this was the only time he's been efficient. He was getting to the rim, hit some post shots. The 3 ball was falling. Jaylen Brown had a great game. Derek White, just another masterclass like he's been doing all season long. But it was great to see the Celtics go into Sacramento, beat one of his teams, so he's been pushing hard lately, and just absolutely ripped them to shreds. It didn't even look like they belonged. Sabonis looked like he was in hell. 6-7 turnovers, I want to say. Davion Mitchell was giving us buckets for sure. But goddamn, the Celtics looked back last night.
The Celtics are pretenders, and everybody I think that watches basketball knows that. I think that when you look at the Celtics, you combated my small sample size with your small sample size.
The Celtics are 9-3 against the best teams in the NBA. One of those losses was a double overtime loss with none of our starters.
They're also the only team to be top 5 in offense and top 5 in defense.
Ultimately, Dehls, you're not going to beat the Milwaukee Bucks come playoff.
Well, you told me before it was the Sixers. Before that, you told me it was the Nets.
You won't beat.
You had like a week there where it was the Knicks would take us 6 or 7 games.
Well, I think the Knicks would give you a run for your money for sure. Julius Randle's not going to go down.
Didn't you all lose the Taurean Prince-led Timberwolves?
He had 30 points. He had a great game.
Went 8 for 8.
But listen, about that. Listen, the Celtics, Kings, it's a bad matchup for the Kings. The same way where the Timberwolves give you guys a run for your money when they face you guys.
We beat them.
You beat them, but it was a very close game. It came out to the wire.
Win's a win.
All I'm saying is that matchups matter. And nobody's saying that the Kings would beat the Celtics in the finals.
I'm sure you would push that.
I would not push that.
If we would have said this a week ago, you definitely would have said, I don't know, Dehls. I think I would take the Kings in 6 there.
I don't even have the Kings making it out the West. So that's a lie. In terms of
Who do
the
you have making it out
Celtics,
the West?
oh, we'll see. What else you like to know?
I mean, you said it so firmly.
Well,
I got the Nuggets.
It doesn't matter who he picks. He's going to change his mind.
And I have the Suns. I have the Nuggets. I changed my mind with information that's presented to me, new information.
It is very calm. Healthy Suns are going to the finals.
But the thing is that Dehls, I almost want to save you from yourself because you're being delusional about the Boston Celtics.
What's delusional?
We know the Celtics are not going to make the finals. We know that Jaylen Brown and he's going to split up from the Celtics, and you're going to be like, "Damn!" Remember when we had this debate about when KD was about to get traded to the Celtics or when they offered the package, and Dehls was like, "No, I want to keep this core together." We're going to go back to that. Let's see if you still feel the same way. Because you could have had easy money sniper. You could have for Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart or Derek White. Come on, give me that all day.
No way, no how.
Marcus Smart, does he stink?
Not great. He's been
That's your
struggling
DPOY though.
He had an
always
injury
Rob
earlier in the year. It was always Rob. Now he had an ankle injury earlier in the year. He's not the same since that. I honestly kind of hope they give him a few games. I'll try to get him right for the playoffs, but
Derek
he hasn't been. He does for sure. Hasn't been the same this year. Last year, damn.
Come playoff time.
Felt good to see Rob back out there, man. Brings so much energy.
Come playoff time, we're gonna see what happens, Dehls.
With him.
Yeah, he's so tough.
That's the boy right there.
Come playoff time, we're gonna see what happens, Dehls. You're not gonna be a happy camper. I was right about you guys last year, 100%.
No, you were actually one of the most wrong there was.
The wrongest,
I
would
wrong.
say.
I was right.
Said we get.
I had the Warriors winning.
Round 1.
I had the Warriors winning in 6.
You had us losing in Brooklyn round 1.
Yeah, but then I had you guys winning the next 2 rounds, which I did.
But you were wrong about us.
So that means,
he wasn't the wrongest. I'm sorry. That was
so that
rude.
means I was.
Riff.
So that means I was right 3 out of the 4 series.
But also, there's no way you could have been right if the Celtics lost round 1 because then they can't go on to round 2.
So does that mean that if you get,
you were just right because.
So that means
you were right because you were wrong. It's kind of funny.
So does that mean if you're taking a test and you get the first problem wrong, that automatically means that the next 3 problems are wrong since you got the first one wrong?
No, but if the test doesn't allow you to go to the second question,
okay,
you can't say I would have got it right.
If since time keeps going on, I'm allowed to go to the second question.
Yeah, but that's not usually how tests
So that
work.
means I got I got 2, 3, 4 right. And then 1 I didn't get right. So
you got it just so wrong. And the whole Nets thing you just got so wrong. It's hilarious.
You got the biggest series that matters wrong.
You were just pushing the Nets all of last year, the first off of this year, and you've just been fell flat on your plate.
Well, I'm sorry. Nobody can predict Kyrie requesting a trade midseason.
I told you again the season. I said the team that makes the most noise in the offseason usually not a good sign.
You guys made some noise in the offseason.
They did.
It's not a good sign.
Why do you say that? Malcolm Brogdon's been amazing.
What noise did we make? What negative noise did we make in the offseason?
Ime Udoka got fired. Ime Udoka
ended up working out.
Yeah, Missoula seems pretty okay.
Udoka's probably a better coach still.
Hard to say.
I'm gonna have to agree with you all here.
We don't know. What if we're in the finals?
You won't be in the finals though.
Milwaukee got it.
I understand.
Everybody knows you're not making the finals. Cool. Everybody knows it. Would you rather Odell Beckham Jr. edition?
Do it.
Turn me up.
First name up. The guy the Jets ultimately traded to replace him, Elijah Moore.
ODB.
I'll take Odell.
Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper's better right now. He just had a great season with Cleveland.
I'm going to go with Amari Cooper. It's right now. I'm going with Amari Cooper.
Coming off 2 torn ACLs, that's tough.
He was damn good with the Rams.
For sure.
Damn. I'm going to go Amari, but I don't feel great about it.
Christian Kirk.
I'll take Odell right now. Odell would be wide receiver 1. Kirk was pretty damn good, but when he had a tough matchup, Kirk looked overmatched. He did. I'm going to go ODB.
Christian Kirk was phenomenal this past year. With Trevor Lawrence. I'm going with Christian Kirk on this one. Cortland Sutton.
ODB.
It's easily OBJ.
I'll take Odell. I think it's close. Sutton's a good player.
It's easily. Keenan Allen.
I'm ready to move on. Oh, come on.
Keenan Allen.
I would take Keenan right now. That's close, though.
I would take Odell Beckham Jr. over Keenan.
So you would take Christian Kirk over Keenan Allen?
Yes. Right now, yeah. Absolutely. 100%.
You know how I feel about Keenan Allen.
It's
disrespectful. It is.
Well, Christian Kirk was better than Keenan Allen this past season.
He's hurt.
He was better than him.
And look at Keenan Allen's last 5-6 games.
It was nutty.
I mean, you call Keenan better than Garrett Wilson.
No, did I say that?
You did.
I'm not sure. You might have. It was off the show when you were getting ready.
I said I'm not mad at you if you said Garrett Wilson was better than Keenan Allen.
Could have been that.
You said you'd take Keenan over Garrett Wilson.
I think you did say that. You know what? I'm saying now this because I'm agreeing with everything you guys say.
That's facts. I'm gonna go Keenan.
Hollywood Brown.
What up?
I would take Hollywood right now.
I'm over Hollywood.
His first stretch before he got hurt, he was on pace for 1,200 yards.
I'm going with Odell Beckham Jr. too.
I'm not happy with him right now.
Okay.
I don't know if Odell Beckham Jr. I don't know if I want to compare him to the top 15 guys.
You can't. It's impossible. He just missed a full year coming off a torn ACL. That's why, I mean, listen, I'm being rude to Hollywood. I would probably take Hollywood Brown. I'm just being...
He was great to start the year.
So Odell Beckham or Michael Thomas?
MT?
Yeah, I would take Michael Thomas. Both injured, but MT's upside's still there.
I would go with Odell Beckham Jr. personally.
Why?
Your consistency is fucking me up.
I'd go because I
should say lack thereof.
He was a major part of what the Rams did.
And Michael Thomas, I mean, they're both injured, so we're just assuming if they're healthy, because you can't assume Odell is going to be healthy, just like you can't assume MT is going to be healthy.
If they're healthy, I like Odell more. If they're both healthy, I like Odell more.
MT was healthy this season and was getting into the end zone like he never left. Then he gets hurt. Obviously, that's unfortunate. But look at every time that Michael Thomas has been on the field. He's been a top 10
171 yards.
No doubt, he missed a lot of time. How many touchdowns do you have?
He had 3 touchdowns.
And how many weeks? 5 games?
3 games.
So 3 touchdowns in 3 games.
Listen, that's 60 yards a game. He was on pace for 1,000.
60 yards for
3 games, 170, 58, whatever.
2 of the touchdowns came in week 1.
I know.
Yeah, MT was good. I like Odell more. I like his versatility more offensively.
Okay, I mean, to each their own, but
I don't see that one. Chief.
Any other name? MT was the last guy you had?
No, I'm trying to do the math. So Michael Thomas.
All you have to do is 16 times 7.
Here we go.
57
60 times 17. That's 1020. That's 1,000. Are you not going to trust me? I just did it.
It's not 69.
60 times 17?
Yards per game, Michael Thomas is at 57.
My God.
Just under 1,000 yards. In his first 3 games back after not playing football in how long?
And Odell Beckham Jr. after not playing football was really good too.
It was great.
That's a fact.
It was great.
It was literally one of the main reasons for the Rams' success in the playoffs.
A torn ACL is fucked up.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I feel so hesitant. Listen, I understand Odell Beckham Jr. and how great he is. Odell Beckham is one of my favorite players to watch, period. But it's difficult to acknowledge, listen, he's getting older. He's 30 years old at this point in time. Just missed an entire season where we thought there'd be some point in time where he'd be signed this past season.
Yeah.
It kept getting prolonged. It looked like October. Then it looked like November. Oh, suddenly he's not going to be ready till December. And oh, now he's just going to wait for the 2023 season. It's not a great sign for me. I still believe in Odell Beckham, no doubt about it. But I just want to say that I'm saying these would you rathers because these players are safer. Not that MT is safer, because let's be honest, I think MT is just a little bit better.
Yeah.
Worst to first candidates. The teams that are eligible for this segment, and worst to first means a team that finished last in their division that can finish first this year. Eligible teams: the New York Jets, the Denver Broncos, the Cleveland Browns, the Houston Texans, the Washington Commanders, the Arizona Cardinals, the Chicago Bears, and the Atlanta Falcons. For me, I wanted to dumb it down, so I eliminated some candidates. I eliminated the Commanders, the Cardinals, and the Falcons. It was hard to eliminate these next 2, but I eliminated the Texans.
Falcons got eliminated because they don't have the quarterback?
Yes.
Got it.
And the Bears are a team that I'm on the verge of eliminating. I understand if you want to have them, but I eliminated them as well. That, to me, leaves the Browns, the Broncos, and the Jets. The Broncos get eliminated because the Chiefs are in their division. And if they get DeAndre Hopkins, which is likely.
What are you doing?
Likely.
It is likely. I think it's D-Hop.
It's possible. I don't know if it's likely.
It's D-Hop to the Chiefs or to the Patriots. It's one of those.
Keep sleeping.
None of the above.
And
don't worry. We're coming through.
Broncos?
And even if they don't get D-Hop, the Chiefs have shown me that, listen, I'm not going to count them out until they're out.
They don't need them.
So for me, the Broncos are out of this discussion, even though, I can see a scenario where they do it. It's between the Browns and the Jets. And my pick is these New York Jets. We finished 7-10 last season with what was one of the worst quarterback plays of the year. Zach Wilson was not good. Mike White was not good either. Chris Streveler was not good. Nobody was good.
Snaps.
Aaron Rodgers, if he comes to the Jets, this 7-10 record, along with the additions of Lazard, possibly Odell Beckham Jr., with our offense, improving the offensive line, we could win the division. The Buffalo Bills, I like what they did with Damien Harris and the Connor McGovern signing. It bolsters up the running game just a bit, but their defense, I feel like, is starting to take a little bit of a hit. The Miami Dolphins are a team that's up there. Their defense is going to be very scary, but Tua's health is a question mark. Even though you can argue Mike White might go and replicate the same type of production, we're not sure.
Who's going to argue that?
Yeah, I don't know. There could be an argument. Somebody out there, could argue it. Mike White guys. Mike White has a pretty big fan base.
People love him.
Do. Yeah, he does.
So idiots.
So the Dolphins are there, but I don't think Tua is a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers, and for that reason, I lean the Jets. So when I look at the Jets, I think it's between them and Buffalo. If New England gets D-Hop, then this whole division is going to be tough. But I like the Jets. We're going to have a top 10 defense. We're going to have a running game. We're going to have an elite wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. Aaron Rodgers, in a year where he was doubted, where he feels like he was thrown aside by the Packers, is going to be motivated. And if we get a motivated Aaron Rodgers, we get an MVP candidate. And because of that, I have the Jets going from worst to first.
Go ahead, because I know your answer.
Do we get all of the teams in the NFC South since the Panthers, Saints, and Falcons were all 7-10?
All have the same record, I guess, because of what's it called? In division schedule.
The Bucs are only one game better. That's pretty ridiculous.
Yep.
And Baker Mayfield's going to change everything.
Who are you going to go with, Saints, if you had the opportunity?
Yeah, I had the Jets on my list, obviously. But yeah, if I had to pick any of these NFC South teams, it would probably be the Saints right now. I feel the most confident and their defense. The weapons offensively, Michael Thomas, the question mark, just restructured his deal, so he'll be back. But then you still have Chris Olave, and Kamara is another question mark because he might get suspended. But
Jamal Williams
too. But I'm with you well. New York Jets. Chicago Bears are interesting because that division is really up for grabs. But you do have the Detroit Lions who are climbing. The Packers who will take a step, maybe not a step back, but around the same 8-9 wins. And then the Vikings who have, retooling this season. So they're up in the
Vikings
air.
Are not going to fall off a cliff.
Not a cliff, no, but they probably, they won 12 games last year, 11 games?
Interesting,
13,
Joel. I feel like I remember you saying that Minnesota's time's over.
No, they're rebuilding, but they're not going to fall off a cliff.
Maybe my mind's failing me.
Did they ever have a time?
No, they didn't.
With all due respect, their regular season team.
Case Keenum, that was probably their best time.
They're not extending Kirk. That's the only thing, but the team is similar to last year's team, and I think bringing in Byron Murphy, Marcus Davenport, cutting some older players,
no doubt.
helps them.
They knew what they needed to do. Their defense was garbage.
The worst.
Figure it out. They did.
Worst.
So you're going Jets.
I have the Jets. Aaron Rodgers, you're talking about the biggest improvement in quarterback in the NFL. Last year, the only team that did it was the Jags, who had the same quarterback, but took probably the biggest leap, him and Jalen Hurts, the biggest leap at a quarterback position last year. So when you're looking at a team to go worst to first, the first thing you have to look at is quarterback. Are they going to make an improvement? It's typically why you struggled in that previous year. So I'll go with Jets and Aaron Rodgers.
So until Aaron Rodgers officially becomes a Jet, the Jets can't be my answer. But of course, once Rodgers becomes a New York Jet, then you guys definitely are one of the strongest contenders for it. There's not many teams, you mentioned it. There's a lot of teams that you can just eliminate right off rip. The one team I do want to say honorable mention is Chicago. They've done a good job of trying to bolster that roster as a whole. The defense was garbage last season. They've done a solid job of trying to do that. Maybe spent a little bit of extra money that maybe people don't overly agree with, but when you desperately need help on that defensive side, you got to make moves, even if it means that you look a little bit foolish. But the team that I'm going with, of course, you think that I'm going with Denver. I understand that so long as Kansas City is on our division, I'm not gonna poke that sleeping bear. I'm tired of messing with those guys until we play them, because no doubt about it, we're catching one this season. This is the year 2023. We're beating the Kansas City Chiefs. Clip that. The team I'm going with to go from worst to first, best potential for me, is the Cleveland Browns. And that is really all predicated on Deshaun Watson getting back to Deshaun Watson form. The Deshaun Watson that we saw that was 70% completion percentage when the year after they traded DeAndre Hopkins, he goes and puts up historic numbers. Unbelievable he was. But of course, He had a year of not being able to play, and then he had a 12-game suspension. Comes back, does not look like the Deshaun Watson that we saw when he was with the Houston Texans. But again, if Deshaun Watson, given the fact of all the moves that they've made, Joel alluded to it a little bit earlier, you bring in Dalvin Tomlinson, you bring in Okonkwo, you already have Myles Garrett, one of the best defensive players in the league. You have one of the better secondaries in the league with Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome. The offense just got a little bit better. I say a little bit better because I still believe in the talent of Elijah Moore. But another reason what we should be looking at and think that this is a positive is that Nick Chubb is going to be the primary back this offseason. And if I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, I'm ecstatic because Cleveland Browns fans have been begging for Nick Chubb to get more opportunity. Because of Kareem Hunt being in there, he kind of stole some carries from him. But now it's going to be the Nick Chubb show. And Nick Chubb can do both rush the football and receive. He is an underrated receiving back. When he has the opportunity, he succeeds. But it's really all dependent on Deshaun Watson. And looking at the division, you have the Bengals, who, of course, probably the favorites to win the division. You have the Ravens, who right now aren't looking the hottest because you don't know what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson. I will give credit to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have made some really solid moves. They've done a great job improving that offensive line where it already improved last season. They are a solid, promising, young offensive team, and defensively, they're all right. They're all right, to be honest with you. But what really excites me is that offense. I believe in those young guys. Kenny Pickett, he showed some flashes last year. I think he's a solid quarterback option. Najee Harris gets a boost because of how great this offensive line is. George Pickens has great potential, absolutely. Deontay Johnson's the one question mark because we saw him step back a little bit last season. But, of course, that'll happen when Big Ben is no longer your quarterback. But I do believe in the young talent of this roster. But to come back to Cleveland, defensively, the run game was atrocious last season. They've done a great job of trying to address that so far. The secondary is going to be solid regardless of that fact. But really, all it comes down to is offense. And I guess when it comes to gambling, I'll take my chances with Deshaun Watson getting back to form. I strongly doubt that we're going to see Deshaun Watson play as poorly as he did last season. He gets a full offseason. He gets a full training camp to work with the guys, get comfortable with the offense. And I want to give this shout out to Riv because I told him that I would. Riv is definitely on the same boat as me. Riv has been very adamant that he believes the Cleveland Browns will win this division. He believes in this roster, and I just wanted to make sure that I gave him a shout out because I'm with him. I agree. I see the talent that this roster has. I've seen the moves that they've made. This is a strong team for sure.
The Browns made a lot of good moves, and they're a good candidate. I just don't know with Deshaun. I have to see it first.
Division's also tough. If Lamar resigns, it's going to be tough.
No
if
doubt.
He doesn't, then you really just got the Bengals. Steelers got to give respect to.
I feel like the Browns have won the offseason for a lot of years now, and it hasn't translated.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
But now they have a franchise quarterback.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to bet on Deshaun Watson being great. I really am.
Strong chance.
It's Deshaun Watson.
He's really good. He's really good.
Going on to Super Chats, this is from Aiden Ramirez. Who has a better season, Josh Allen or Justin Herbert? I'm going to go with Josh Allen.
I'm going Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert's just a better quarterback, to be honest with you.
I want to see what Chargers do in the draft. They've been mocked a lot for a quarterback, or even if they move off Eckler, potentially Bijan too. If I were to guess right now, I think I would slightly lean Josh Allen.
The rushing upside definitely helps you there, but I just think that as a quarterback, what I want in a player is Justin Herbert. And I think that their primary focus needs to be getting him another wide receiver. And as a Broncos fan, I don't want them to get JSN because I understand what could potentially happen.
He'll probably be gone. They picked
20th, I think.
This from Chris Bass. Dallas has a lot of talent, but I will still take Philly and the 49ers simply because they have way better coaching. Coaching can mask lack of talent.
It's a good point.
It's a solid point.
Listen,
the
Dallas.
we were making.
Yeah, Dallas is. There's nothing wrong with thinking Dallas is the best team.
Kyle Shanahan.
There's nothing wrong with thinking Dallas has the best team. It's just when Joel talks in absolute and says there's no way Philly's going to do X, Y, and Z. And there's no way this doesn't happen. It's like
Dallas going to win the division.
That's where I have an issue. Dallas is going to be one of the best teams in the NFC.
In the same way, coaching masks lack of talent. Coaching can only do so much when you don't have a good quarterback, like the 49ers. I understand Brock Purdy injured his elbow, so that's unfortunate. But with their quarterback play being as questionable as it is,
how dramatically different do you think their wins and losses will be this season if they have to start Darnold or Trey Lance or whoever?
Not much.
Not much.
In the playoffs, it matters, though.
That's facts. But we still see that defense is going to be suffocating.
Yeah, but in the playoffs, is that quarterback matters. And that's why the Niners haven't been able to get over the hump.
They beat the Cowboys with Purdy.
Yeah,
but it's not like Purdy had a ridiculous game.
The Dallas Cowboys didn't have enough offensive firepower to open the playbook up. Chris Bass, Dallas was not beating Philly in the NFC Championship game. Well, we know they were.
Where have I been?
Austin
Green
Rich
had 40 the other night.
Damn.
Oh my God.
It's Jalen Green.
Cooking.
Jalen Green.
He has 24 in the third.
So you can't bet against Jalen Green. You know, Jaden McDaniels right now has 18 points.
He legitimately has to have the worst ending to a game ever.
It was 30 PRA?
30 flat.
What is he at?
No, it's 30 and a half, but he's at 30 flat.
Oh,
Austin Rich, Browns offseason fire emojis. Chris Bass again.
Chris Bass.
Joel's not understanding that McCarthy hasn't shown any improvements as a coach. Why do you think he's going to take this offense over the edge?
Spit.
Because
I've
even
been
if
trying
he doesn't,
to say this,
it's been so over under. Are they going to be a top 10 offense in the league?
they'll be top 10.
Are they going to be
of course, so long as Dak Prescott's their quarterback.
Top 5 offense?
I think I'll take between 5 and 10.
Are they going to draft Bijan?
I don't think so. I think Bijan.
I've heard possibility of Bijan being drafted by the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think he'll go before with his selection. Honestly, that's just how great he is. And I don't know if the Cowboys. Pollard's on a 1-year deal, and it doesn't seem like they'll pay him.
Last 2 seasons, 4th ranked offense, 1st ranked offense.
Oh, so they were the first. Okay, I was thinking about the year prior when Dak got hurt.
2021, they were first.
Yeah, facts.
This past season, they were 4th. I think they'll be a top 5 offense. Austin Rich, out on Deshaun, but thinking Zach Wilson will be back is crazy, bro.
Out on Deshaun, but in on Baker.
I'm a big character guy. Future NFL MVP. The Browns gonna shock a lot of people this year with a Darius Garland profile picture.
Okay.
Caleb Belts. What team do you guys think makes the biggest jump in the NFL next season?
Jets, Aaron Rodgers.
I think probably the Bears.
Chicago Bears.
I mean, if you're talking just strictly record-wise, they go from 2 wins to
they're going to be this year's
7
Lions.
or 8.
Yeah, I think the Bears definitely are one of the teams.
Yeah.
Tristan Prashad. Joel M., who would the Jets have to acquire via trade for you to get on all fours and throw it back on Drew?
Aaron Rodgers.
Well, Aaron Rodgers, I'm assuming
so
is going to be
for Aaron
there.
Rodgers, you're throwing it back for me?
I'll throw if we get Aaron, but D-Hop comes to town, I will.
Okay.
Oh my God.
That's calm.
I mean, that's fair. I mean,
I would do it too.
Chris Bass, the bias in me says Atlanta goes from worst to first, but being realistic, the best chance is probably the Jets or the Browns if Watson is better.
No doubt. Atlanta becomes interesting. If they are actually a silent partner for Lamar Jackson, no doubt about it. I change all my opinions and I immediately hop over to Atlanta bandwagon.
I just don't know. They're like Ritter's their guy for a year.
They're chatting. There's no way you can be the number 1 rush offense with mediocre quarterback play. Let's be honest. I'm being kind with using the word mediocre. You get Lamar Jackson, you become the best rush offense in the league by far.
A big reason why I'm not picking the Bears to go from worst to first is because the Detroit Lions exist. And the Lions have made some good offseason moves.
I agree.
And they haven't been to the playoffs in a long time, man. You know, I think they have the second longest playoff drought currently. The first is the Jets.
We're back.
They went 9-8 last season.
I thought Broncos were in there also. Thank God.
The Broncos are in there.
Yeah.
I think it's the Jets, Lions, Broncos. It goes like that. Lions went 9-8 last season. The winning record, 4th ranked offense, 8th in passing yards, 11th in rushing. They started out 1-6, and then they finished 8-2 down the stretch, and they had that great Week 18 win against the Packers. A lot of signs lean to the Lions ending their playoff drought. You look at the free agent moves, David Montgomery. I think he's better than Jamal Williams. I understand the heart and soul that Jamal Williams was to the Lions, but Montgomery is somebody that can do more. He has more wiggle.
So Khalil
he
Herbert's
has more
better
worst.
than Jamal Williams?
Yep. He's a better back.
He's a juice guy.
No, I know. I just want to make sure we keep consistent.
I think Jamal Williams, when you talk about Jamal Williams.
Because I like Montgomery a lot. I'm just wondering if he feels that Khalil Herbert's also better than him.
When you talk about Jamal Williams, he's always been an average back. I think when you look at his touchdown numbers, you may be like, oh, he's better than you're giving him more credit than he deserves.
I agree with that point.
And I feel the same way when you talk about Eckler. You know what I'm saying? Like, the touchdown numbers may be there, but he's not an elite tier running back. Jamal Williams is good, but I think Montgomery's better. He has more burst. you can use them in those goal line situations just like you use Williams.
That point wholeheartedly.
If the Lions decided to use Swift instead of Williams on half of those, we're not having this touchdown argument.
Agreed.
Graham Glasgow, him signing back
Yep.
with the Lions now fills that guard spot that I thought Vitalia was average there for a couple years. But the secondary is the biggest improvement. Getting Cameron Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, who has CB1 potential, but he gets injured. And, of course, C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Emmanuel Mosley, that's your guy that dropped the interception, Matthew Stafford, correct?
No, that was Jaquiski Tartt.
Facts.
Can't forget Jaquiski.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson, a huge move. I mean, C.J. came out and said that the Lions have a better roster than the Eagles.
He capped.
Came out and said that.
I'm the Lions supporter here. He capped like hell. Go ahead.
But looking at the Lions, I think they're now building something. Their defense should be average at least.
Secondary, huge improvement.
And from week 8 onward, they were 22nd in dropback EPA and 26th in rush EPA. So even when they were winning, their defense was still not the best. But, with these improvements, their defense could be okay. Ben Johnson's coming back, so Jared Goff should have another good year. I think if I was the Lions, I'd want to go out and trade for Lamar Jackson and really solidify myself. With Jared Goff, it's too wishy-washy for me. Yeah. I'm not sure.
That trade package becomes difficult then because are they trading the number 5 overall pick? Does Jared Goff also get included with that? Does another first-round pick also get included with that?
Oh, yes.
Then you have to pay him $250 million, probably at the minimum, all guaranteed.
The report is he doesn't want a fully guaranteed contract. It's because he can't find one.
Yeah,
more than anything.
I'd trade Goff and 2 firsts for Lamar in a heartbeat.
The number 5 overall?
And pay
gotta
him.
do what you gotta do.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. It's Lamar.
Unless you only have to trade 2 firsts. They could trade their later first, maybe 2024, if that's possible.
I'll say this. I would 100% trade for Lamar Jackson. Yes, it's Lamar Jackson, MVP. I don't want to disrespect his name. However, I will say this. The Detroit Lions aren't the team that I feel like need Lamar Jackson the most. Because Jared Goff, where I agree with you, Joel, that on a point you made earlier in the show is Jared Goff is starting to get overappreciated. Where I believe, yes, he is a competent quarterback. He is one of the more underappreciated, mediocre to above average quarterbacks, no doubt about it. But that's the strongest I want to use the word to describe Jared Goff. He is an above average quarterback, at best, in my opinion. He did a great job last season. Absolutely, the numbers were there. He was fantastic in his role, no doubt. He is also behind one of the best offensive lines in the game. You have the Eagles, and then you have the Detroit Lions. I think that Jared Goff is good enough to win football games for the Detroit Lions so long as they clean up this defense, which they have tried to do this offseason. Now, with this number 5 overall selection, I've been going back and forth because if at number 5, Anthony Richardson is there, you select him. I don't believe that Anthony Richardson will be there at 5 because I believe someone will trade up at number 3, or at the worst, I think the Colts will select Anthony Richardson at number 4. So I think at number 5, they're not going to have that option to select the top 3 quarterbacks. And if the Lions select Will Levis, I will lose my mind because that is not the selection. Because really what that means is Javon Carter is falling right into their lap at 5. And you help solidify that defensive line. I understand that there's conversations about Carter's character because of what's been occurring in his life off the football field. However, at number 5, that's a talent I don't think the Lions can pass up on, truthfully. Especially when they need help defensively the way that they do. You add the best talent available. Adding Lamar Jackson changes the landscape and the projection of the Detroit Lions. But if I'm Detroit, I feel like I stay even keel. I have 2 first-round picks this season. I understand that my team already was good enough to be a game away from winning the playoffs. We eliminated the Green Bay Packers on their home field and were overachievers this past season because no one projected us to be as good as we were. I agree with your point saying that I like the David Montgomery contract. I feel like you could have given that money to Jamal Williams, given what he means to the locker room. His intangibles are something that is going to be desperately missed. But I agree with the talent. Montgomery has the talent. He can do the job on the field of what Williams did. I feel like the Lions are in a position where they need to stay put. They need to trust this team. And as long as they continue to hit on the draft, which we're going to wait on Jameson Williams because he just had basically an entire season without JMO. And we understand how I feel about Jameson Williams. I understand we saw Garrett Wilson. I'm probably going to be wrong about Jameson Williams being the number one receiver, just how great Garrett Wilson is. But there's still a strong possibility, as great as Olave was this past season, that Jameson Williams can insert himself into that top 3 easily.
Sure.
I believe in that talent, no doubt about it. Amon-Ra St. Brown broke out this season. He was phenomenal. He is a top 10 receiver, in my humble opinion. He is that good. This offense has a lot of really good players on this offense. And as long as they fix this defense in the draft, this team definitely can win the division.
Talk to me about your Lions, bro. It's been your squad. Best, worst team ever, right?
They are. And
They were.
I think that
He spit.
I think that they will make the playoffs if they can make the right moves. I wouldn't take Jalen Carter at 5. I would still probably draft Christian Gonzalez.
Even off all the secondary moves they made?
Emmanuel Mosley's injury prone.
Not that none of these guys are long-term solutions, right? They're mostly 1-2 year deals.
Cameron Sutton is the only one I look at, and I'm like, that's a guy that, he'll be there for
and
a
Jeff
while.
Okudah was solid last season. I say solid.
Injury
I
concerns,
don't say anything else.
Yeah, Jeff Okudah's good, but, Christian Gonzalez is a game changer.
I understand what you're saying, but they need help on the defensive line. Let's be real. And Aiden Hutchinson, he was fantastic last season. He had a late push for Defensive Rookie of the Year. No one was taking that away from Sauce. But Aiden was fantastic. And you add a little bit more substance to that line, it relieves some pressure off Aiden, and then it'll allow Carter to also have a successful rookie season.
Aiden wasn't even the best one on their defensive line, though.
There was another rookie they had, right?
James Houston, yeah.
James Houston was very good.
So
you continue to bolster this defensive line, get pressure onto the quarterback.
I don't know. With all the concerns that Jalen Carter has, I'd just probably be safe and take Christian Gonzalez.
My only thing is, regardless, because what you're saying is sound.
Because he could be a great
corner. There is going
to
be another team that gambles on Jalen Carter. Let's say he's not a top 5 pick. Let's say he's top 10. And hey, let's say he's not top 10. He's top 15. From 6 to 15, a team is getting a steal.
Probably.
A team is getting a steal because a team is going to draft him. He's not going undrafted.
Yeah, but his pro day was horrendous.
And he was still projected to be the number 1 or number 2 defender off the board. I'm not disagreeing with you. Will Anderson will be the number 1 defender off the board. But Jalen Carter is going to get drafted in the first 10 picks.
Micah, I think, was a better prospect, and he fell a little bit.
But Micah also had
similar
issues.
concerns, yeah.
Yeah,
way lesser.
Yeah, facts.
That's why, you guys took...
Issue becomes that it was in the locker room,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But where Carter's was worse, probably, no doubt.
Definitely.
You have Micah, who it impacted the team.
It's also been settled, too. He gets a year probation, some fines.
Like the Broncos took Surtain over Micah.
I'm fine with that.
And yeah, I think you're fine. Same way I think Lions would be fine if they take Gonzalez over Carter.
I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's not a bad pick. I
It's
like
not.
Gonzalez a lot. I just feel like I would rather get pressure onto the quarterback, really, especially when I understand I have a potential star in Aiden Hutchinson. You mentioned it, Houston as well, who was great last season. You add Carter to the mix. Now we're talking about a unit that people are going to be talking about with the best of the best.
Sure.
Yeah, I like the Lions a lot. I just feel like Jared Goff gives them a limited ceiling. And year to year, excitement always grows when
Goff did go to the Super Bowl.
Year to year, excitement always does grow for certain teams based on how they do. But I look at how teams will look in 2 years. Jared Goff has another good year with Ben Johnson. I have no doubt he will. Ben Johnson leaves.
Comes head coach.
And now who's going to be the OC? And now I think that in turn probably drops Goff's production. And there's just more question marks. So I don't know. That's why I'd rather go and get Lamar Jackson.
I get it.
But I understand how for every team it feels like getting Lamar is just an unrealistic thing that's going to happen. Like, it's just unrealistic.
I mean, if you're the Lions, it's not too unrealistic. You have a very solid quarterback that you can give in return. You have really, really good draft capital with the number 5. You have another first-round pick in this selection, in this draft too. I'm sure that they'd probably want next year's first instead because they don't want a mid-tier pick. The Lions are in prime position to acquire Lamar Jackson. The Lions, and I look at Atlanta as well, but the Lions more so because they have the quarterback to give in return if Baltimore does not want to be complete.
And Baltimore also bringing in Todd Monken. They don't have this run-heavy scheme anymore, right? Monken is much more pass-heavy, so maybe it's a better fit. Still need receivers on the team if they want to run a pass-heavy offense, right? You look at Bateman as really the only guy you could, like, pencil in. I'm comfortable with him being a starting wide receiver on this team. The rest of the guys, I know John's a big Devin Duvernay fan.
Duvernay, come on.
What did I say? Duvernay? Devin.
Lack of respect.
Devin
Duvernay.
Duvernay.
Nice.
Devin Duvernay fan. I should know that. I watched him so much. Just be terrible with Lamar Jackson. With that being said, the Lions, though, listen, they were basically a game away. I mean, they had the same record after they won the game against the Packers or whatever it was. Seattle ended up getting in over them, but this Lions team has been growing over these last couple of seasons, bringing in Dan Campbell, who people were definitely, teetering about whether he could be a legitimate head coach. He comes in very bravado, very masculine. The way he has his press conference, we're going to bite kneecaps off players. Not exactly the most typical head coach and opening interview you would ever see, but people want to play for him. It was Cam Sutton, I think, who said we look at Dan Campbell around the league and guys want to come and just play for him.
He's a football guy.
Exactly. So the energy he has around that building, around that team, you could feel it. You feel it year to year to year. And this season feels like this could be the one they break out. You have the Vikings coming back down to earth. You have Rodgers leaving the division. Chicago is going to get better, but you still feel pretty confident as a Lions fan that you could be there. Then you look at the wild card teams, you're just as good, if not better, than damn near all of them, or at the very minimum in that same tier with the Seattles of the world and the Saints of the world. So I think Lions fans, your time is right here. It's around the corner. You just got to, pray for health. And like Drew mentioned, you could have one of the more explosive offenses. Jameson Williams is able to stay on the field, partner with Amon-Ra, who is more of the intermediate possession type receiver, and you just have Jameson, who's could be one of the most explosive players in the entire league. Losing Jamal Williams definitely hurts, especially red zone time. But I'm with Joel. Jamal Williams isn't this uber talented, out of this world great running back. He's number one of the best locker room guys you could have in the league. Really solid around the goal line, but David Montgomery is going to give you 95% of what Jamal Williams does. He probably won't have 17 touchdowns like Jamal did last year, but him and Swift are going to be a fine combo.
My goofy ass said 5. I meant 6. 5 is the Seahawks that the Broncos gave them. That pick.
I look at the Lions and I like their offense, but I don't know. Outside of Amon-Ra,
Jameson Williams.
He's the only one that's proven. I like Jameson's upside.
Yeah.
Very limited, but he showed flashes last year. Just
DeAndre Swift, you're out on
being a step away.
Offensive line. I mean, I'll be honest.
I'm not on DeAndre Swift.
He's never like DeAndre Swift.
How can you be out on him?
Because his vision's not good.
I think he could be as a workhorse running back, his time is probably past.
No,
but he could be
good. So you have DeAndre Swift
he could be one of the better
Montgomery.
He could be one of the better receiving backs in the league for
that's
sure.
A firm tandem.
Montgomery will be probably the every down back in between the tackles, and
he'll
probably
first and second down guy.
Swift will probably be the pass catcher, probably third down back. It depends on how he does in pass pro.
It's crazy too because David Montgomery is also a really good receiving back himself. I'll say this: with that offensive line, the wide receivers have all the time in the world to get open. And Amon-Ra, you said it. You respected Amon-Ra. You definitely trust him to get open. He's one of the better route runners. That's just what he does. He gets open. He knows how to read his zone.
If you were the Lions, would you take a wide receiver with the second first round pick?
I mean, if JSN's available, why not?
Not JSN, but I'm talking about like a Jordan Addison, a Quinn Johnson, a Zay Flowers. I probably would want to add one more receiver.
Maybe I lean a corner in that selection too, depending on what I do at 5.
Maybe wait till day 2. There's a lot of guys in that group that you would probably
like. Because if I were the Lions, I want to get a tight end because they don't have a tight end. I
disagree with that.
So I'd want to probably draft the receiver and then tight end second round.
Defense still needs some work. They signed a bunch of guys, but they could always use bodies
at
there.
At 5, it's essential. At 6. I keep saying 5. At 6, it's imperative you bring in a defensive player because the offense is not the issue. They're one of the best offenses this past season.
I like the Jalen Carter. I like the shot.
Jalen Carter
got a motivator like Dan 6. Campbell.
That's a fact. Get him in the right direction. Get him in the right headspace. It'll definitely be a project that the Lions are going to have to commit to. And of course, Carter himself, he's going to have to commit to the squad as well. Yeah. But if I'm the Lions, you take best available. You have to. You understand that, hey, we're actually building something great here. We haven't built something great in quite some time. We have a great situation right here. We have a very good head coach. We have a unbelievable offensive line. We have some really solid weapons around us. It's just a matter of bolstering this defense, and we really could get things going. Listen, it's not insane. After draft day, I'm going to really, depending on what happens and the right guys get drafted to the Detroit Lions, this team can win multiple playoff games. I do firmly believe that. I think that if Carter does come to the Lions, if Gonzalez gets drafted by the Lions as well, seeing some additional moves that happen to the defense, this definitely could be a team that can win multiple.
It would be matchup dependent because if they have to play one of the big 3 in the NFC, I don't know how confident.
Are they better than the Seahawks?
Same tier.
I think I would take the Lions. Not disrespecting the Seahawks because I understand that I've done that in the past.
Yeah.
Prez coming back, he's going to be huge for that defense, no doubt.
They could take Jalen Carter.
They could.
We talked about quarterback on last episode too.
At 5, like I just said for the Lions, I could keep that same energy for the Seahawks. They're not gonna. I don't know if a quarterback's gonna be available for them. It could be similar to last season or 2 seasons ago, where it's 1, 2, 3 all quarterbacks. I would not be shocked if someone trades up to Cardinals.
Exactly. Yep.
And snap a quarterback.
2018 NFL redraft. We are going to do the first 12 picks or 15, however we feel like it. And this was an interesting draft. A lot of quarterbacks went in the first round. 5, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Lamar, and Josh Rosen. Only 2 of those quarterbacks, I would say 2.5 of those quarterbacks panned out. Lamar, Josh Allen, and Baker Mayfield half of the time. I think that's fair. And, I was thinking about it, Drew, because I have my big board here, and I did my own little mock draft. I was thinking about giving the Broncos Baker. You needed a quarterback. That pick, maybe if I have that selection,
with respect,
I might, thinking about you and how much you guys need a quarterback. I think, I was thinking about going Baker. Thinking about going Baker Mayfield.
Our quarterback clear.
Are we doing rock, paper, scissors?
Of course.
I forgot to do it with team. I just have a big board
here.
Here we go.
Rock, paper, scissors, says shoot.
Fuck. Rock, paper, scissors, says shoot. Okay.
Now you're not.
Rock, paper, scissors, says shoot.
Fuck you.
All right, 3rd pick it is.
I have the first pick. Snake draft.
I have the first pick. I won.
No, I said you had.
Oh, my bad.
Snake draft for sure. Come on. No, we can't do that. Not here.
Why?
I mean, hey, I'm not gonna say no.
So the first pick was the Browns in the original draft.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me know when to hit your music.
Hit my music. With the first pick in the 2018 NFL redraft, the Cleveland Browns will not be taking Baker Mayfield. They will be taking Josh Allen, quarterback out of Wyoming.
Very nice.
Physical tools, got all the tools, got to, mold them a little bit, a lot like Anthony Richardson, but we know he's that dude.
So you're taking Josh Allen, number 1.
Yep.
Okay. Number 2, New York Giants. This is an easy pick for me. I'm not going to put the music because it's a hard time for Josh. It's hard for John to edit. This can't be edited if it's that way.
Go ahead.
So with the second pick, the New York Giants are selecting Lamar Jackson. Original pick was Saquon Barkley. The new pick will be Lamar Jackson.
So I have the number 3 selection. Ironically, your guys is New York Jets, and I hope I don't do you guys a disservice with my
Broadway
selection.
Baker.
I'm going to be selecting Fred Warner.
Okay.
I feel like you bring in Fred Warner, to a lot of people, the best middle linebacker in the game. His coverage is unbelievable. He's just able to get himself all over the football field, one of the faster linebackers in the league. Shaq Leonard was in conversation here, but I feel like Fred is just a little bit better as a player. So I'm going Fred Warner.
With the 4th overall pick, the Cleveland.
It's my selection.
Oh, yeah.
We're doing Snake?
Yeah, we are doing Snake. I figure why not?
Okay.
In real life, for those that were curious, the Jets decided to go Sam Darnold over Josh Allen, over Lamar Jackson.
Not the best choice I've ever seen.
Not ideal. So, number 4, the Cleveland Browns. With their original pick, they went Denzel Ward. I'm torn here. I feel like for the Cleveland Browns, I am going to be going with Quinn Nelson. You continue to add offensive line depth to this team, who already is a solid offensive line, but Quinn Nelson is still amongst one of the best guards in the game. Add him to the Cleveland Browns, only improve that offensive line.
Now, Drew, you gave me the perfect opportunity to select this other player that I wanted to select.
There's some great players in this draft.
With the 5th overall pick, the Denver Broncos are selecting Jair Alexander, the best cornerback in this draft. The original pick was Bradley Chubb for the Broncos.
I think I only would have gone Shaq here. I understand Jair. I just think that I like Quan, opposite side of Patrick Surtain. Jair definitely clears him. We'd have the best corner duo in the game, but we need a linebacker, and I feel like Shaq would have been the selection here.
Yeah, your Quinn Nelson pick messed me up. For the Browns, I was going to seek Jair.
Okay, that's understandable too, but I just felt that they already had a great secondary already, so that's why I decided to pass on Jair. But Jair,
right now?
Yeah, Greg Newsome and Denzel Ward.
Denzel Ward was the pick in this draft.
That's fair. Facts. Yeah. That's facts.
You freaking guys.
I folded there. I'm fine with that though, because Quentin Nelson is still you'll take offensive protection any day of the weekend. Yeah, for a long time, their offensive line was a big reason why they were able to have success, because Baker Mayfield was so limited,
Yes, sir. All right, I know my pick. It's easy.
And now they have Josh Allen.
Oh, no music, my bad. Buffalo Bills, the 7th overall pick. Originally took Josh Allen, who
You
I
had the
took.
6th pick, I believe. The Colts.
My bad. 6th overall pick. The Colts originally took Quentin Nelson here. He is no longer on the board. I will be taking a different offensive lineman. This offensive lineman went in the 7th round. Jordan Mailata. The Eagles find steals all the time. He didn't play a ton his rookie year, I want to say, but then his second year, he became one of the best left tackles in the NFL. The fact that he won the 7th round, and he barely even played football before entering the NFL, and turned into just one of the best offensive linemen in the game right now.
Nice. No
Number
Shaq
7.
Leonard.
Snake draft.
Oh, my turn. We're back up. We have the Chicago Bears at pick 8. In real life,
7 for the Bills.
Fuck.
Here we go.
What's going
I'm
on here?
all over the place.
You're drunk.
The 7th overall pick, the Buffalo Bills originally took Josh Allen with this selection. I took Josh Allen number 1 overall. There's some good players left on this board. In real life, I'm looking at safety, right? You got Minka and Derwin James here, but you think of the Bills safeties, they were set, right? They had Poyer. You had Micah Hyde for a while. So you probably don't go safety there. I will be taking you know what? I'll go with the 7th overall pick. Drew went Fred Warner earlier. I'll go with another game-changing linebacker. Give me Roquan Smith here.
I respect that selection a lot. I understand going Roquan over Shaq, seeing his impact with the Ravens this season. Shaq's just a great leader.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Obviously, he's amazing in his own right, was all pro his first season in the NFL, but Roquan's another dog in his own name.
8th overall pick, the Chicago Bears. Original pick was Roquan Smith. Darius Leonard, Shaq Leonard still on the board.
Yep.
But you know what? I'm going to go a little bit wild card. I'm going to go Saquon Barkley.
Interesting.
This was 2018 Bears, Mitch Trubisky. You had an elite defense already. And really, they didn't have a game-changing offensive player. Their running backs were Tariq Cohen and I think a rookie Montgomery. Come here, get Saquon, change your offense, help Mitch out. I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley.
All right. Not insane. All right. So number 9, San Francisco 49ers. Originally, they went my boy, Mike McGlinchey. In this redraft, I'm torn between Shaq and Micah. I think that for the fact that Fred means so much to this defense, I have to do them that service. I need to draft them Shaq Leonard, and that's exactly what I'm going to be doing.
No Nick Chubb?
No. Even though, obviously, running back U is San Francisco, they can make me a great running back over there in San Fran, so I'm going to decide to pass on Nick Chubb. And that means I have the number 10 overall selection as well with the Arizona Cardinals. And I'm going to go with Micah Fitzpatrick. Now, Micah didn't work out with Miami, which obviously is super unfortunate. What did I say?
You said Micah?
Minka Fitzpatrick. I apologize. Thank you. But of course, you add him to Arizona, who does need secondary help. You understand Buda's there, but you match that with Minka. You take that 10 times out of 10. So I'm going with Minka Fitzpatrick.
With the 11th overall pick, the Miami Dolphins in my redraft are selecting Mark Andrews.
Like that.
Ooh,
all pro tight end.
Over Derwin.
Yes. And in this selection, Ryan Tannehill was still the Dolphins quarterback. He needed some offensive help, and Mark Andrews could have been that. Their tight end, I don't even know who it was at the time.
All right, so I'm up. 12th pick, right? Let me not screw this up. 12th pick?
12th pick.
Okay.
Yes.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A couple years later, they do get a pretty good safety in Antoine Winfield Jr., but with Derwin James on the board, it's impossible to pass him up. So I'll be going with Derwin James, 12th pick. When he's healthy, he's one of the best safeties in the league. Are we going 15? We're doing 11 and 12? What are we doing there?
We could do 15. There's still a lot of great players.
There are some solid. This draft was really good.
So we have the Washington
Commanders.
words in this case. The Washington Commanders here. In real life, they took Deron Payne, and hey, that is working out beautifully for them. Right now, I mean, at this point, they had, or this is Terry's draft.
Denzel Ward is still available if you were curious.
Is Denzel Ward still available?
J.C. Jackson was also in this draft.
I thought Denzel Ward was already
J.C. Jackson's just kind of got with the Chargers tenure. Just I don't know.
With that being said, I know Denzel Ward didn't have the prettiest 2022 season, but he's still, I think, one of the better corners in the league. Still really young. So with this pick here, the Washington Commanders are taking Denzel Ward.
All right. So you went 12, Derwin?
Yes.
Okay, which makes a lot of sense.
You went Derwin James and
Denzel Ward.
Denzel Ward 13. Yeah. Okay. So number 14, the New Orleans Saints have the selection. And looking back at 2018 for the Saints, Drew Brees is still quarterback. Michael Thomas is an elite wide receiver. Their defense is elite. But if you look closely at those Saints teams, they never had another great receiver outside of Michael Thomas. So I'm going to draft Calvin Ridley at this pick.
Calvin Ridley over DJ Moore.
Oh,
I will allow you to take it. That's fine.
I had DJ Moore going higher, but when I had him going 7 to the Bills.
Okay.
So I messed up my board.
That's fine.
So
you can go
DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley. So with the 14th overall pick, the New Orleans Saints originally took Marcus Davenport. In my redraft, I'm taking DJ Moore.
I'm glad that we could fix that. No doubt about it. DJ Moore is the selection there. I would have liked DJ Moore right here at this pick for Las Vegas. In real life, they went Colton Miller. I'm torn between Colton Miller and Orlando Brown. Seeing this past season, the way that things transpire with Orlando, it's a strong conversation for how great Colton has been in pass blocking. I mean, I believe he had the highest PFF grade in 2021. In 2022, I believe he had an 84 pass blocking grades, also a solid run blocker in his own right. So you know what? I feel like let's not break something that's broken. I'm going to go Colton with the 15th selection.
That's a good pick.
That is a good pick. Now you have the other pick, Drew.
Oh, we're going to keep going?
Yeah. Oh, you want to stop here?
Oh, I mean, that's fine.
I only have 19 names.
Yeah. I still have guys like Nick Chubb, Ridley, Roquan.
Yeah. I took
Roquan. Got selected.
Oh, yeah, you did take Roquan. I'm sorry. I had a Christian Kirk.
Jesse Bates was also a very solid name. Let's see who
Bradley
else.
Chubb.
Orlando Bloom, we didn't even mention.
Nick Chubb.
Orlando Bloom. I'm crying. Orlando Brown.
With the 16th overall
Payne
pick,
wasn't selected.
If I was selecting the 16th pick, I would have selected Baker Mayfield for the Bills.
That's nasty.
I have no choice.
Baker.
I'd rather go with Tyrod Taylor.
My brother Mike McGlinchey. That's another name.
Need a quarterback. Yeah, a lot of good names. People we did not select: Baker, Calvin Ridley, Nick Chubb,
Sam Darnold,
JC, Christian Kirk,
Kerryon Johnson. What a goat!
Orlando Brown, Wyatt Teller, Frank Ragnow,
Dallas Goedert,
Vita Vea, Harold Landry,
Grunson,
Deron Payne. Oh, he could go. Mike McGlinchey,
casual.
Tremaine Edmonds, Carl Davis, Dallas Goedert,
Rashaan Evans.
This draft was pretty good.
Alton Davis,
Chris Herndon.
Looking at these super chats, NPC Santos King City edition is sold out, but you have until next week, so pick another jersey if it's still not available. Caleb Belts, what do you guys? Who do you guys think the Raiders take at 7?
They might be the ones that draft Will
Levis. Yeah, he's been mocked a lot, but I feel like I don't know. I just don't think McDaniels is gonna go for this. Develop a quarterback while we have Jimmy G. I feel like this is just they're going to run with this roster and try to win.
Okay.
So I think they go position player of some kind.
Defense. Oh, okay.
Defense. Yeah, I mean defense. I mean obviously needs a ton of work. Offensive line needs work.
Christian Gonzalez possibly is a selection.
Corner. Yeah, I mean, listen, the Raiders are trying to compete now, but they have a ton of holes. So for me, best player available.
Now before we go, reading some tweets, Terrell Mallory. Is there a chance Green Bay asked for too much and this A-Rod trade doesn't happen?
Shout out to Terrell.
How long will this standoff last for the Pod King?
It is a concern, and we spoke about it earlier. Well, I spoke about it earlier. Until it's finalized, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's a done deal, especially with the fact that Green Bay is not going to trade away Aaron Rodgers for chips and pennies. It's not going to happen. Aaron Rodgers is too valuable of an asset. But they also are in a bad position because they have no leverage. Aaron Rodgers went on to Pat McAfee and said, I thought about retiring. Before going to my darkness retreat, I was 90% retired already. So it's a tough situation if you're the New York Jets. It's a tough situation if you're the Green Bay Packers. But I'm hoping for the best because y'all are my guys. I want to see Aaron Rodgers in green.
I'm 90% sure this deal gets done. When all this is going on, they already said the Jets and Packers had parameters in place for the deal, right? Yeah. So it's not like they went into this not talking to the Packers. Nobody knew what they want to give up, and they call the Packers. All of a sudden, they won 3 first-round picks and AVT, and right? So for the most part, they know what the deal is. It seems like both teams, neither of them are in a rush to get it done because obviously you don't have like OTAs and stuff opening up, and the draft is until another month away. So if we get past the NFL draft, that's when I will start getting really concerned about this. Until then, I think both sides are just trying to get a little bit more out of each other.
I think this should end within the next 2 weeks. I think Rodgers should be on the Jets. This from VA Sports. Who will have the best and relatively worst season next year among the notable 2020 receivers? Judy, Jetta, CD, Ayuk, and T. Higgins and Pittman. So I guess
so some names you just throw out. Like it's not
we
gonna be
could just rank them. So
okay.
Ranking 2020 NFL draft receivers: Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Ayuk, T. Higgins, Judy, and Pittman. Let's rank them. Who's number one?
Justin Jefferson. Easy.
Pretty easily, Justin Jefferson is number one.
Wasn't Amon-Ra in this draft class also?
Possibly was.
No, I think he
was
was
that
the
the
year
Elijah
after.
Moore draft?
Yes, Elijah Moore
I
draft.
apologize.
Yeah. So I would have Jettas at 1.
No doubt.
Number 2 would have CeeDee Lamb.
Yep.
Yeah, this draft is Jefferson, CeeDee, Judy, Claypool, Ayuk, Higgins, Shenault, and Ruggs.
I would have
Jettas, CD, T. Higgins,
Ayuk or Judy.
So I think I'm gonna go Justin Jefferson.
Judy. He was great as the X. He really was.
So was Ayuk. Ayuk was great last year. Yeah, they're very close.
So number one is easily Justin Jefferson.
Easily.
One of the best we've ever seen.
Number 2, CeeDee Lamb, comfortably, in my opinion.
Very
Number 3, I'm going with T. Higgins.
Yes.
comfortably too.
Number 4,
T. Higgins is a
Ayuk.
savage.
Number 4 is Ayuk.
I think I would go lean Ayuk. He's just been more consistent over the last couple
And
of years.
on number
Judy.
5, between Pittman and Judy, who are you going with?
Judy.
Pittman's
Pittman
been
doesn't
better.
have a quarterback.
Pittman's been better as of recently.
Not last year.
Well, his career has just been better so far.
Barely.
I think
had a good year,
slightly
too.
lean Judy, but it's close.
I like Pittman. I'll go Pittman.
Judy's having a career year this year.
Let's do it. I
So
have more faith here.
that's the difference in our list, that you guys have Judy.
I think I
instead
have
of
Judy
Pittman.
one spot.
Yeah, I got Pittman over.
I could
him.
be convinced.
I have Judy over Ayuk.
Okay. There we go. There's that.
And now looking at Lonzy, do you think the Thunder could make a move for Jaylen Brown?
Everyone's making a move for Jaylen Brown.
I'll tell you what, I don't think they need to. I don't want them to. I want them to continue to trust the process. What they've done over there in Oklahoma City clearly has worked. They have an unbelievable foundation. They have a great culture. Don't mess it up. Keep the core that you have. Keep building the core. You don't need a lottery pick this season because your lottery pick is going to be Chet Holmgren. They said that on the Through Wire podcast, and they absolutely spit. That's 100% a fact.
I think if, knock on wood, I hope Jaylen Brown is Celtic for life, but if it does happen, it's going to be a more unique situation because the Celtics aren't going to be looking to rebuild. They're going to want to get a really good player in return that could try to at least replicate some of the production Jaylen Brown. So it's like the Thunder have all these picks, but the Celtics are going to want a player is going to be a higher priority to them than draft picks.
They'll give you Isaiah Joe and Kendrick Williams.
Oh God, give me Jalen Williams and draft picks. Maybe we could talk.
Uptown Squirrel, not basketball related, but who are your favorite wrestlers?
John Cena. It's my boy.
I loved Batista, Undertaker.
Jeff Hardy's my favorite.
Jeff Hardy,
And
facts.
CM Punk.
I fuck with Seth Rollins a lot.
I
Triple
hated
H is
Randy Orton
goated,
as a
though.
kid.
I love Charlotte Flair. I know that's obviously a legend in the game.
Edge.
Edge is a goat.
Yeah.
Understand.
Rey Mysterio.
I
Rey
see
Mysterio is another
clearly.
legend.
Yeah.
That's another legend.
His son's in it now, right?
He is. Dom is funny, bro. He
Yeah.
is funny. He's about to fight Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania, no doubt. No doubt. It's awesome, bro. He's like calling Rey Mysterio a deadbeat. He's saying that, bro. There was a clip that he cut, and he was saying how all my friends were getting Mercedes S Series, and you got me a BMW. I was cracking up.
That's hilarious. This is probably a question for Drew. This is from Jeffrey 5. What is the ceiling on Daniel Jones, assuming he continues with a healthy Saquon for 2 to 3 seasons?
His ceiling is a top 10, top 8 quarterback.
Top 8.
That's his ceiling. Top 8, top 10.
Top 8 right now is like Jalen Hurts.
No.
Maybe he's 7.
Jalen's like 6.
Got it.
Like Dak is in the conversation of being top 10.
Allen,
Yep.
Burrow,
Yep.
Herbert,
Yep.
Lamar's in there. You got
Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, if you didn't already say him. Then you have Kyler. Then you have Dak.
So 8 would be like right behind Lawrence.
So I'm a
Hurts.
genius.
He's gonna be that good.
He's amazing.
Nah, that's not his ceiling. His ceiling is
Wait till he gets
2020 Ryan Tannehill.
who was top 10.
That's really good.
Yep. 2020. So
Really
he's
efficient.
not top 10.
Really efficient.
He's just 2020 Ryan Tannehill.
At Nova 209, Overall career, Paul George versus Carmelo Anthony. Who would you take?
First off, we didn't talk about it, but we hope that Paul George is okay. Thankfully,
They said 2 or 3 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks. That's fine. That's a knee sprain. It's not ideal, but it could have been a lot worse.
So
you'll
much
take
worse.
it. Paul George or Carmelo Anthony. Playmaking, Paul George has it. Scoring, it's easily Carmelo Anthony. Defense, you got to go Paul George.
Yeah.
So I think for that aspect alone, I think I'll go Paul George. But that's not to take away from Carmelo Anthony. Amazing player, one of the best scorers we've ever seen, an amazing rebounder, does not get talked about enough. But I feel like I just got to go Paul George because the two-way ability. Not that Carmelo wasn't a solid defender in his own right, but Paul George is just a little bit better.
Even with the two-way ability, I think Carmelo Anthony's comfortably a better player than
Warriors
him.
won another game on the road.
That's shocking.
Beat the Mavs.
That's shocking.
Yeah.
Listen, you're not talking crazy.
Yeah, I just think Carmelo Anthony, he got kind of dealt a bad hand. I mean, Denver, he went to a horrible Denver team, led him to the playoffs as a rookie. They built a team once around him that was capable of making a run. They lost to the Lakers in the conference finals in 6 games. And then he was just never built around with the Knicks. You know, it's weird because Carmelo was always the first option, where Paul George was at a point the first option, but then the second option, and he's been that way. I think as a second option, Carmelo would be better than Paul George, but he's never really been put in that position because in Denver and with the Knicks, he was always number one. And the Knicks never built around him. For me, I would take Melo. I think that at his peak, he's a top 5, top 6 player in the NBA.
It's hard to really get really angry about you taking Carmelo Anthony because I understand how great Carmelo Anthony was. The only thing I'll just say to defend my claim is something that I've already said. The two-way ability of Paul George was amazing. He's one of the best two-way players that the NBA has, even right now. Offensively, he's still one of the best. He's still a great scorer in his own right. He is a solid playmaker. And on-ball defense, he's one of the best at his position. So, again, I don't have too much pushback because I don't want to sound like I'm disrespecting Carmelo Anthony. But I just feel like Paul George just allows you some room to do a little bit more.
Luka had 30 and 17 tonight.
Yeah.
Calm.
Tell me Jalen Green didn't do anything else for the rest of the game.
Hardy had a good game too. Each up like 25 or something.
Hardy's good.
So the Mavericks lost.
Yes.
Huge. Incredibly huge.
Warriors won.
That's okay. It's the last tweet. This is from OG Midnight. Has OKC built another big three similar to Russ, Katie, and Harden? And what is the ceiling for this group?
Listen, you could be as high as anyone on SGA, but you got some years.
Yeah. There's a minute left.
Yeah, you got a few more years until we could have a Harden, Westbrook, Durant conversation.
So just letting you guys know, Cat in his debut tonight, 20 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. But even better, man, Jaden McDaniels, 25 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists.
Tough.
I mean, Jaden McDaniels is a guy, Dehls, that you doubted, and recently he has been playing well.
He has been. What are they? The 8 seed now, 9 seed.
So today he had.
Hopefully Atlanta wins.
Today he had 25. Last game was 18, then 18, 25, 14, 19, 15. In the month of March, he's averaging 16 a game.
Since Joel said that he could have been Jaylen Brown, he's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
No, I will give that 100%. That's the truth.
Jaylen Brown has been, since the All-Star break, I think he has 1 game under 20 points.
McDaniels.
He's been unbelievable.
McDaniels, boy.
Hey, if he just averages 11 more points per game, he'll be the same offensive player as Jaylen Brown.
Give him 3 more years for that, Dehls. Okay. Context. Vamp.
Jaylen Brown.
Do the Packers owe this trade to A-Rod, though?
Dead ass.
They don't know shit to him.
Yes, they do.
They owe him everything.
He's their franchise's best player.
And no, I'm lying. They definitely.
That's going to do it.
They slapped him in the face by drafting Jordan Love instead of getting him.
And then fucking doing all this bullshit. Like, bro, let your franchise best player ever get what he wants and take the fucking 2nd round pick instead of a 3rd.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Pick Aside Podcast, episode 265. You can follow us on Twitter at Pick Aside Pod, on Instagram and TikTok at Pick Aside Podcast. And make sure you like this stream, you rate this podcast, write a review. It helps us out a ton. Check out our sponsors, Mojo, Playback, Athletic Greens, and Boom Fantasy. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.